Chapter 467. Who said that? I can forget anyone but Xiao Chao. Yunjioge would not admit that she had long forgotten about the demonic fetus. That's more like it. The cute little baby did not doubt him and gestured like an old man. In this situation, we need Xiao Chao. Quickly let it out. Can it really do it? Yunjioge's impression of Xiao Chao was that of a tire baby. Of course. The cute little baby looked confident. Yunjioge let Xiao Chao out and found that the tire baby was already as big as a 1-year-old child. Xiao Chao had red lips and white teeth. Her facial features were exquisite, and she looked somewhat similar to Yunjioge. She had a white and chubby body, with only a grass skirt around her waist. Her 2 chubby feet were also bare. Master. Xiao Chao waved her chubby little hands and hugged Yunjioge's calf. Come on, quickly put on your clothes. Yunjioge guiltily took out a piece of cloth woven from spirit silk. The chubby little boy had been born for so long, yet she did not even prepare clothes. She was really incompetent. No, Ding Ding has prepared clothes for me. Xiao Chao twisted her body and the grass skirt around her waist became a green jumpsuit. Uncomfortable, I don't like it. The jumpsuit changed back into a grass skirt in less than a quarter of an hour. This child loved the feeling of running around naked in the most primitive way. If you don't like it, then don't wear it. Zishang saw that Xiao Chao looked like Yunjioge and immediately loved her. Thank you, my king. Xiao Chao showed a flattering smile to Zishang. Clothes are a small matter. The most important thing now is to find Yin Shirley. Xiao Chao, can you help us find him? Yunjioge still remembered his purpose of coming to the valley. I'll try. Xiao Chao waved her little hands and black demonic energy swayed back and forth, causing the Yin energy in the valley to ripple. A strange buzzing sound came from the depths of the valley and spread out like a tide. The person you are looking for is in that cave, but there are many small bugs inside. Follow me closely and I'll bring you in. Xiao Chao clapped her hands and said. Aren't you afraid of those small bugs? Yunjioge asked curiously. With Master here, I'm not afraid of anything. Xiao Chao shook her head, and the fat on her cheeks swayed. All right, you lead the way. I'll cover you from behind. Yunjioge took out the thunderfire needle. If anything went wrong, he would immediately rescue Xiao Chao. Don't be afraid, this little fellow is very powerful. Zishang patted Yunjioge's nervous arm and pulled her to follow behind Xiao Chao. Although Xiao Chao looked fat, she ran quite fast. Her 2 short legs clattered as she rushed into a cave deep in the valley. The cave was deep and long, and the deeper they went, the stronger the strange smell became. Xiao Chao, slow down. Yunjioge anxiously watched as Xiao Chao ran further and further away. Zishang raised his hand and flicked out a thin purple spirit thread, which he tied around Xiao Cao's chubby arm. She followed it around and around until they arrived at a spacious cave. The cave was filled with fog, and the surroundings could not be seen clearly at all. Ah, there are so many little bugs here. It's so disgusting. Xiao Cao's shriek came from the fog. Yunjioge and Zishang rushed over and saw that the walls and ceiling of the cave were filled with grayish-white stone worms. They were about the size of a thumb, and their surfaces had already been petrified. However, there were white spots the size of rice grains in the middle, densely packed on the wall. It was extremely disgusting. These are the mountain drilling worms that have been cursed. Zishang hurriedly put up a defensive barrier. Xiao Chao, come back. Yunjioge immediately pulled Xiao Chao back. I'm going to kill these bad bugs. Xiao Chao clapped her hands, and a black demonic flame landed on the grayish-white worms. With a loud boom, the gray gas instantly ignited. The stone worms struggled and screamed. After the layer of gray light on their surface was burned away by the demonic flame, the white light suddenly expanded and devoured the flame. Then, their bodies rapidly grew. These worms can actually devour demonic energy. Zishang's expression became serious. Xiaocao's demonic flame and his demonic energy were both part of the world's energies. If these stone worms could devour vital energy, then they could devour his demonic energy. Let me try. Yunjioge also summoned his divine fire. The golden flame with a hint of white light landed on the bodies of the worms. The white bone flame was instantly extinguished, but the golden flame completely burned them. They can only devour my white bone flame. They can't do anything to my divine fire. Yunjioge let out a sigh of relief. If these worms could even devour divine fire, then it would be too terrifying. However, Zishang didn't relax. If his demonic fire couldn't solve the problem in front of him, then what right did he have to stand beside Yunjioge and protect her? Kill them, kill them. Xiaocao was still angrily attacking the stone worms. Some were killed, but some evolved. Zishang suddenly had an idea. He said to Xiaocao, change your method. Don't attack them, but fight for their vital energy. What? Xiaocao turned her head and looked at Zishang with a confused expression. Do it like me. Zishang pinched his fingers and shot out a purplish-black demonic fire. It turned into a mouth with sharp teeth and swallowed the worms, fighting for their vital energy. At first, because there were too many worms, the demonic fire mouth couldn't handle them all. However, it quickly found a way to deal with them. It broke them up and killed them one by one. The strong prey on the weak, survival of the strong. Yunjioge immediately understood. Fight for it, fight for it. Xiaocao was originally a demonic embryo. Growing up by devouring was instinctive to her. She waved her small hands and the demonic energy in her body condensed into a demonic incarnation to fight for the vital energy with the worms. The worms that had their white energy taken away would turn into stone and be smashed by Xiaocao. I'll look after Xiaocao. Go find Yin Shirley. Zishang knew that Yunjioge was thinking about that guy. Okay, I'll go over there. Call me if you need anything. Seeing that Xiaocao was enjoying killing worms, Yunjioge left with peace of mind. Yin Shirley, where are you? Yunjioge called out as he walked. I'm here. Yin Shirley's weak voice came from a corner. Yunjioge walked over and saw that Yin Shirley was tightly bound by countless white threads. He looked like a white cocoon. Are you okay? Yunjioge wanted to use his evil knife to cut open the cocoon. However, he didn't expect the knife to turn into scrap metal the moment it touched the white on the cocoon. This devouring power was too terrifying. These threads have devouring power. Don't worry about me. Leave quickly. Yin Shirley's voice was extremely weak. It looked like he couldn't hold on much longer. Yunjioge thought about it and slowly used his divine power to condense a small golden knife. He stabbed it into the white cocoon and finally peeled it open. Yin Shirley's black face was revealed. You're not afraid of this devouring power? Yin Shirley was shocked. This devouring power is nothing special. As long as you're stronger than it, you can devour it. What's on your body? Yunjioge looked at Yin Shirley's black body and didn't dare to help him up. Chapter 468. This is corpse poison. If it wasn't for them, I'm afraid I would have died. Yin Shirley laughed bitterly. Although he was originally a living dead, the devouring power could steal the spiritual power of the heart of heaven and earth in his body. If it wasn't for his quick wit to use corpse poison to isolate it, he would have turned back into a Yin corpse with no consciousness. Corpse poison can isolate the devouring power. Yunjioge secretly remembered this and helped Yin Shirley out of the cocoon. He asked, "Oh yes, what happened when you went to the Five Venom sect? How did Chun Sanyang become a stone statue? When Chun Sanyang and I went to visit the Five Venoms sect, the situation inside was very normal. The sect master also looked like a normal person. Ian Shirley was interrupted by Yun Jioga. What did you say? The Five Venoms sect master looked like a normal person. Listen to me first. There are other things after that. Ian Shirley was helpless. Oh, continue. Yun Jioga waved his hand. In the beginning, the Five Venoms sect was very normal. Later, I discovered that it was an illusion created by the maze array. I was about to escape with Chun Sanyang when the Five Venoms sect master turned into a stone statue and attacked us. Chun Sanyang was petrified. After I escaped, I wanted to heal my injuries in this Yin Chi Valley. I didn't expect there to be a kind of gray silk that could devour vitality. When I discovered it, I was already surrounded. If you hadn't come to save me, I wouldn't have lasted much longer. Ian Shirley still had some lingering fear. The corpse poison could only be isolated temporarily. If Yun Jioga had come a step later, it was hard to say if he would have survived. Oh yes, where are Cho Sen and the rest? Ian Shirley looked around and only saw Zi Shang and an unfamiliar fat boy. They were captured by the people of Goddess Mountain. Yun Jioga told him about the temple on Goddess Mountain. We suspect that there is a nascent soul cultivator in that temple. Nascent soul cultivator? Could it be that he created all these things? The power of the curse and the devouring power complement each other and are extremely fierce. If they are allowed to spread, I'm afraid that all living things in the world will suffer. Who is so vicious? Although Ian Shirley was the demon sect master, he didn't dare to joke around with the lives of the world. I don't know either. Let's leave this place first and think of a way to solve this problem. Yun Jioga didn't know if the people of the world would suffer, she only knew that if Ian Shirley didn't find a place to recover, he would turn into a Ian corpse in minutes. Alright. Ian Shirley stood up with difficulty. Yun Jioga was just about to order Zi Shang and Xiao Chao to retreat when he heard a muffled explosion. A passageway appeared behind the stone worms that they had killed. The gray threads that had tied up Ian Shirley immediately retreated along the passageway. Yun Jioga looked at the passageway. It was pitch black and he couldn't see the end of it. Zi Shang pinched his fingers and conjured a little purple insect which flew towards the depths of the passageway. However, it was devoured not long after it flew out. This passageway is the source of the devouring power and the curse power. Zi Shang's expression was solemn. He wanted to explore it, but he was worried about Yun Jioga. How about? Just as Yun Jioga was about to say something, he saw Xiao Chao suddenly lie down on the ground and crawl towards the passage at an astonishing speed. Get back here. Yun Jioga subconsciously chased after him and Zi Shang hurriedly followed. Ian Shirley took a step forward and felt weak all over. In the end, he could only sit down near the passageway and adjust his breathing as he observed. You stinking brat, why didn't you tell me to run? Are you looking for a beating? Yun Jioga huffed and puffed. It took him a lot of effort to hold Xiao Chao down. He raised his hand and spanked Xiao Cao's but a few times. Master, I was wrong. I accidentally ran in because I smelled a very nice smell inside. Xiao Chao pretended to cry. He really didn't do it on purpose. A very nice smell? Yun Jioga inexplicably felt that this sentence was somewhat familiar. Yes, and it smells very delicious. Xiao Chao nodded vigorously. I remember Fei Fei said the same thing. Zi Shang caught up and happened to hear this. So, the passageway leads to the temple? Yun Jioga was surprised. Very likely. Zi Shang nodded. Then are we still going? Yun Jioga hesitated. The woman in the temple always made him feel very uneasy. Let's go take a look. We'll retreat if the situation isn't right. Zi Shang knew very well that all the secrets were in the temple. They had to go take a look sooner or later. Okay, let's go take a look. Yunjioge nodded. Since the passageway was so hidden, there might be a surprise. But Xiao Chao shouldn't cause trouble. Ignoring Xiao Cao's resistance, she stuffed him into the demonic tripod and used her divine power to put up a small defensive barrier. She and Zishang continued forward. The passageway was filled with gray threads. Both of them looked restless but didn't dare to move due to Yunjioge's divine power. After half an hour, Yunjioge finally reached the end of the passageway. It was a round cave wall with a gray wooden cover. Under the cover was a path paved with white jade. Smoke curled up and celestial music floated in the air. In the distance, people were chanting piously and worshipping the goddess could be heard endlessly. It seemed to be the temple. Are we going down now? Yunjioge asked Zishang. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from afar. Luo Tian, how about we go for a drink after your shift ends? Luo Tian? Wasn't that Junichen's voice? Yunjioge's eyes widened. He hurried over to the wooden cover. He saw a handsome and tall youth standing on the white jade path. In front of him was a dark-skinned, handsome youth. Who else could it be but Luo Tian? Junichen had grown up quite a bit. When they'd parted, he'd still been a proud little boy. Now, he'd become a handsome youth. But that wasn't the point. The point was why these two were here. And from their conversation, they seemed to be working at the temple. Yunjioge wanted to jump down and ask. Shoo, there's something wrong with them. Zishang pulled Yunjioge and sent him a telepathic message. Look at their eyes. Yunjioge stretched his neck and saw that Junichen's eyes were blank. His voice didn't rise or fall either. In the past, Junichen's eyes were dark and gloomy like bottomless black holes. Now, it felt like the black hole had been filled up. Luo Tian's gaze was strange too. He looked at Junichen without any emotion. It was as if he was looking at a rock. The two of them chatted like ordinary guards. They would drink 2 cups after their shift ends. It was as plain water. Is he bewitched or sealed? Yunjioge asked Zishang. I'm not sure. There's no one around now. Why don't you let Fei out to test him? Zishang said softly. Junichen and Luo Tian both raised goo worms. If they were bewitched, their life goo would know best. Chapter 469. Yunjioge secretly released the grey moth and warned it before it could speak, listen to my orders later, don't act rashly, or your spirit pill will be deducted. Why are you so fierce? Fei felt wronged. It didn't do anything wrong, it didn't even say anything when it was sealed and became so ugly. I'm not being fierce, I'm just reminding you that this is the enemy's base camp. If you make any mistakes, it's very likely that your master will die. There was a mysterious and delicious thing in this temple that had a fatal attraction to these little cubs. She was really afraid that Fei would suddenly betray her. This was a matter of life and death, she couldn't let this little thing act like a spoiled child. Oh, I'll be obedient, I won't bring misfortune to master. Fei immediately promised. Good boy, do you still recognize the 2 people down there? Yunjioge pointed at Junichen and Luo Tian who were still standing there chatting. Fei stopped on the wooden shelf and looked at it seriously, then said, I do, they're the masters of Little Life and Little Red. Then can you find Little Life and Little Red? Yunjioge asked nervously. Let me see. Fei flapped its wings and a faint fluorescent light floated around. Some landed on Junichen and Luo Tian who were walking out, while others floated in a circle towards the depths of the corridor. Little Life and Little Red aren't with their master, they're over there. Fei raised its wings and pointed forward. Let's go take a look. Zishang said decisively. Okay. Yunjioga nodded. This was all too strange, she had to find out the truth as soon as possible. Zishang gently took down the gray wooden shelf and silently landed on the ground. After looking around, he raised his head and said to Yunjioga, "There's no one, come down." Yunjioga also jumped down and saw that the entire white jade corridor was empty, there was no one. "Go invisible, let's go." Zishang patted Yunjioga. Their demonic energy flashed at the same time and they disappeared without a trace. "There's still Fei Fei." Yunjioga's voice sounded in the empty corridor. "I'll suppress its seal first, it'll go invisible on its own." Zishang hooked his finger and the gray on Fei Fei's body instantly dissipated, revealing the true form of the black and white butterflies. Fei Fei hadn't seen her beautiful real body for a long time. She flew up and down in an intoxicated manner for a while. Then, she flapped her wings and let the white color spread all over her body. Gradually, her figure disappeared. "Quick, bring us to Lil Red and Lil Ming," Yunjioga urged. "This way." Fei Fei flapped its wings and moved forward. Yunjioga followed it through the corridor and found that the temple was very gorgeous. It was carved from white jade everywhere. There were not many decorations, but it was very grand and strangely familiar. Fei Fei took a turn at the fork in the corridor, flew to the left, and finally arrived at a house. This room was made of mahogany and carved with countless beast patterns. There were no furnishings inside, only a huge wall in the middle with a 7-star human face goo worm the size of a face plate. Its face was exquisite and adorable. Its eyes were tightly shut, and its black wings were folded on both sides. Golden patterns of human faces covered its body, making it look mysterious and strange. Quietly coiled around it was a red flood dragon. It had the head of a deer and the body of a snake. It had 5 claws and was as beautiful as a red gem. The combination of the two goo beasts was very beautiful and spectacular, it could even be called a beautiful work of art. Lil Ming, Lil Red. Fei Fei flew up and down around the two goo beasts and finally stopped on Lil Ming's head and sadly said to Yunjioga, "Their souls are gone." "How can this be?" Yunjioga reached out and touched the two goo beasts. They were as cold as rocks. The last time they parted, the Lil Ming goo arrogantly said that it wanted to become the #1 goo worm, and Lil Red was still in the form of a spider. Now that they met again, the two goo worms had evolved a lot, but they had become ornaments. Their souls have been taken away. Juni Chen and Luo Tian should have lost a part of their souls, that's why they became like that. Zishang concluded after careful investigation. "Is it that guy from the Temple of Goddess again?" Yunjioga clenched his teeth, he wanted to drag her out and fight to the death. "It should be, that guy is not here today." Zishang scanned with his divine sense and found a piece of good news. "Then let's hurry and catch Luo Tian and Juni Chen for questioning." Yunjioga turned around and left the house, following Fei Fei to find Juni Chen and Luo Tian. The two lived in the outer room of the White Jade Temple. It looked like they had just finished eating and were tasting wine expressionlessly. Zishang appeared behind the two, and with 2 knife hand strikes, he knocked them down. "Ask Luo Tian first." Yunjioga picked Luo Tian up, patted him awake, and let Zishang use his demon eye to interrogate him. Luo Tian had completely forgotten the past, he did not even remember his own name, he only said that he was Zhang Bao, and had entered the temple as a guard through the selection. His daily work was to patrol the temple, change shifts, eat a meal, drink a few cups of wine with friends, and chat. Everything was ordinary, there was not a single clue. His memory soul is missing, his current memory was inserted by someone else. Zishang shook his head, there was nothing he could do about it. "Ask Juni Chen again." Yunjioga woke Juni Chen up, but his answer was exactly the same as Luo Tian's, except that his name was Li Wei. "Li Wei?" Yunjioga could not help but think of his loyal guard, who was good at divination. Could it be that the two had some kind of relationship? Do you still remember your vital goo? Zishang changed the question to Junichen. Vital goo, vital goo. Junichen's numb expression finally showed a trace of change. He frowned, as if he was trying hard to remember. Its soul was taken away by someone. If we want to save it, we must find the mastermind. Zishang increased the power of his demon eye. Little life, little life. Junichen's voice trembled, his teeth chattered, and finally squeezed out two words, Yi Yu. Yi Yu, did he do it? Yunjioga came back to his senses, but felt that it was impossible. That guy was cursed and was still lying in the coffin. Oh right, he also had a goo called Black Overlord, but he had not seen it. No, no. Junichen breathed heavily, his whole body was sweating profusely, then he fainted. Zishang's demon eye suddenly stopped moving. He pulled Yunjioga and ran out. That guy is back. It's good that he's back. Yunjioga's battle intent soared. As long as he defeated that mysterious guy, he would be able to save Luo Tian, Junichen, and the rest. Good my ass, you don't even know if it's a man or a woman, human or ghost. How are you going to fight it? It was not that Zishang was a coward, but he instinctively felt that things were not so simple. He could not act rashly before he had a thorough investigation. All right. Yunjioga activated his divine power ring, and rushed forward with Zishang. She had to admit that Zishang's words made sense. Right now they did not even have a way to deal with the power of the curse and the power of devouring. Rashly fighting with the mastermind was not a wise move. It was better to go back and wake Yi Yu, and understand the ins and outs of the matter first. Chapter 470. Zishang and Yunjioga left the divine temple and ran quickly in the tunnel. The devouring gray threads were restless, like a group of demons dancing in a frenzy, impatiently pouncing on the two of them. Fei Fei automatically flew back into the spirit beast bag, not even daring to poke his head out. Yunjioga had to increase the output of his godly power to safely rush out of the tunnel with Zishang. The gray threads surged out of the tunnel like a flood, instantly drowning the huge hole. Yin Shirley has already left and is waiting for us outside. Zishang scanned with his divine sense and found that Yin Shirley was already outside the mountain valley. He pulled Yunjioga into the air, stepping on a demonic cloud formed from demonic energy and flying out of the cave. Ao. Dummy immediately flew over. Yunjioga and Zishang landed on its meaty back and flew into the air to look down. They saw that the gray Yin energy had already filled the entire mountain valley. Everywhere it passed, not a single blade of grass could be seen. Lady Yun, are you all right? Black Orchid rode on Deshan and greeted them from afar. Beside her was a black eagle that was carrying the pale and unconscious Yin Shirley on its back. We're fine. Yunjioga directed Dummy to fly over and used his divine sense to check on Yin Shirley. He heaved a sigh of relief when he found that he was only unconscious from exhaustion. This must be your Yin Corps Sex Gold Corps Senior. I'm sorry, Deshan was startled just now. When we flew over, we saw him lying near the mountain valley. Black Orchid felt slightly guilty. Deshan had run too fast just now, and she had to coax him for a long time before he agreed to fly back. When he saw this Gold Corps Senior, although Deshan agreed to save him, he would never let Black Orchid go to the mountain valley. Because Deshan had the instinct to avoid danger, she didn't dare to force her way in and could only wait nearby. That's right, this is our Yin Corps Sect Senior Yin. Fortunately, you didn't enter the mountain valley. Not only is that mountain valley covered by the power of the curse, but there's also a devouring power. It's very likely that it came from Goddess Mountain. Yunjioga didn't want to tell Black Orchid that there was a tunnel in the mountain valley that led to the Goddess Temple. How could this be? Black Orchid's face was pale. One curse had already wiped out their 5 poison sect. Now there was another devouring power. How could they survive? If you don't believe me, you can send someone to check it out, Yunjioga said. Of course I trust Miss Yun. Black Orchid looked at the valley shrouded in grey mist. He didn't have the courage to investigate at all. Miss Black Orchid, Senior Een might have been cursed. Can I send him to your ice stone house for an examination? Yunjioga asked. Of course. After Wu Lan brought Yunjioga back to the encampment, she went straight to the ice stone tower. Miss Wu Lan can wait outside. Yunjioga brought Een Shirley to the third floor and asked Wu Lan to wait downstairs. I have experience sealing curses. Why don't you let me help you? Black Orchid did not want to go down. Her instincts told her that Yunjioga was hiding something from her. There's no need. I can handle things here. About the Een Chi Valley, you better hurry up and set things up. Don't let anyone get close to it. You have to drive away all the monsters nearby as well. Otherwise, the more vitality they devour, the faster it will spread. Also, the corpse poison has a certain isolation effect. There might be other poisons that have the same effect. You'll have to verify this yourself, Yunjioga said seriously. Alright then, I'll go. If you need me for anything here, you must let me know. Black Orchid thought about it. She still felt that the Een Chi Valley was the most serious. If the devouring force was really allowed to spread out and devour the entire Grand Myriad Mountains, then they would lose their place to live and die. Don't worry. We're allies now. If I don't tell you, who else can I tell? Yunjioga patted his chest and guaranteed. Black Orchid left reluctantly, leaving Wuxia and a group of believers to stand guard outside the tower. Why are you so wary of him? Een Shirley, who had been unconscious all this time, opened his eyes and sat up. We can't let go of our guard. Furthermore, this Black Orchid has many things that she hasn't told us. Of course, we can't show all our trump cards. Yunjioga had already noticed that Een Shirley was pretending to be unconscious. You're right. Een Shirley nodded in agreement. He then looked at Yi Yunji, who was standing guard beside Yi Yu's coffin. He rubbed his chin and asked, this Een corpse looks a little familiar. It seems to be that Een corpse called Su Junqing. You can even tell when she's in this state? Yunjioga was shocked. Yi Yunji's current appearance was something that even her own brother, Yi Yu, could not recognize. We don't look at Een corpses based on their appearance. I've only seen her Een spirit physique once in the Een corpse sect. By the way, I've already known about Lu Tian'er's 9 Yudao body. Een Shirley smiled. If it wasn't for the fact that the Lu sisters were close to Yunjioga, he would have taken them in as well. After all, the 9 Yudao body was very rare. Furthermore, he had a cultivation technique that could allow the twin sisters to dual cultivate. Sect Master is indeed wise. I'll have to trouble Sect Master to wait for me on the second floor. I'll come and find you after I'm done, Yunjioga said with a smile. You even have to guard against me? Een Shirley was stunned. Of course. Yunjioga took it for granted. She was going to use her divine power to expel the curse from Yi Yu's body. She couldn't even tell Een Shirley about this. Alright. Yunjioga was the real boss. Een Shirley didn't dare to disobey her orders. He obediently walked to the second floor. Zi Shang, help me set up a layer of array. Yunjioga was still a little worried. I've already done it. Zi Shang appeared. There was still some demonic power flowing in his hands. On the door behind him, circles of runes condensed into a string, firmly covering the entire third floor. Then let's start treating Yi Yu now. Yunjioga walked to the side of the coffin. She saw that the curse on Yi Yu's leg had moved up a little. Yi Yunji's cold Een power could only freeze it. It couldn't remove it. It was already very difficult for it to maintain its current state. Then let's begin. Zi Shang's palm brushed past Yi Yu. A soft cloud lifted his body up and made him float in midair. Yi Yunji was a little restless. She wanted to stop him. We are saving your brother. If you want him to come back to life, then go and guard the door. No matter what happens, you must not be agitated. Yunjioga said to Yi Yunji word by word. Yunjioga was the person that Yi Yunji had entrusted her with her funeral matters. Hence, she instinctively trusted her. Thus, she silently went to the door and guarded it. Yunjioga then calmed her heart and focused. She opened her spiritual eye to observe Yi Yu's body condition. After confirming that the curse power was gathered below his thigh, she took out her thunder fire needle and pierced it into the acupoints at the base of his thigh. Chapter 471. The curse power on Yi Yu's leg sensed the god power of the lightning fire needle and immediately retreated. Yunjioga continued to inject god power to expel the curse power. The golden god power was like a shark entering a fish pond, viciously expelling the curse power. The gray curse power dripped out drop by drop and was caught by Zi Shang using a large jade bottle. After the time it took for a joss stick to burn, the last drop of curse power was expelled from Yi Yu's leg. Zi Shang quickly sealed the jade bottle and sent Yi Yu back into the coffin. Phew, I'm exhausted. Yunjioga wiped her sweat. Although she had only expelled a small portion of the curse power, it had consumed a lot of her god power. Rest for a while. Zi Shang helped Yunjioga wipe her sweat and helped her to sit down. Help me see how Yi Yu is. Is he awake? Yunjioga also felt a little tired, especially the pain in her stomach. He has been sealed for too long. He won't wake up so soon. Zi Shang only needed one look to know Yi Yu's current state. Then feed him a few spirit pills. Yunjioga took out a jade bottle and poured out 2 spirit pills. Zi Shang flicked the 2 spirit pills into Yi Yu's mouth. Not long after, Yi Yu's eyelashes began to tremble and he slowly opened his eyes. You're finally awake. Why do I have to save you every time I see you? When Yunjioga's voice entered his ears, he thought he was dreaming. Wake up. Hurry up and get up. I have something to ask you. Yunjioga saw Yi Yu's confused face and waved her hand in front of him. Missy, it really is you. Yi Yu had a look of disbelief. Who else could it be? Yunjioga was about to roll her eyes. She didn't know if Yi Yu was lucky or if he had a lot of misfortune, but he always did the same thing every time they met. Why are you here? Yi Yu suddenly sat up from the coffin. Don't worry about that. Just tell me what happened to Juni Chen and Luo Tian. Yunjioga saw that Yi Yu's lips were chapped and poured him a cup of spirit water. They were captured. Hurry up and save them. Yi Yu didn't have time to drink the spirit water and said hurriedly. Who captured them? Yunjioga asked. I don't know. Yi Yu clutched his head in pain. It turned out that after he had parted ways with Yunjioga in the Thunder Nation, he had come to the 100,000 Mountains alone to look for Juni Chen and Luo Tian. He discovered that both of their cultivations had greatly improved, and their natal gu had also completed several evolutions. In particular, Luo Tian's Xiaofan had advanced to become a gu king. Juni Chen told him that they had discovered a mystical cave. On the surface, it looked like an ominous place with dense yin energy, but deep in the valley, there was a cave with abundant spiritual energy. Cultivating there would yield twice the results with half the effort, and it had an excellent promotion effect on the gu worms. Yi Yu followed them to cultivate in the cave, and sure enough, his cultivation improved tremendously. Soon, he advanced to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Even Black Overlord advanced several times. After that, the 5 Venom sect's leader suddenly built a divine temple on Goddess Mountain. The spiritual energy in the cave started to feel strange, so we discussed leaving. Because Juni Chen and Luo Tian's natal gu were in seclusion, they would only come out after a day, so they asked me to find a place to stay. I went out for a stroll and found a new cave. When I returned to the valley, I discovered that Juni Chen and Luo Tian were missing. I searched the entire valley but couldn't find any trace of them, so I wanted to go to the Five Venoms sect to investigate. I didn't expect to see the Black Orchid sisters being attacked by a group of stone statues. I saved them, but I was hit. Yi Yu drank a mouthful of spirit water after he finished speaking, then let out a long sigh. At that time, he thought he was dead for sure. Then did you go to Goddess Mountain to look for them? Yunjioga asked again. I originally planned to go to the Five Venoms sect to check for information before going to Goddess Mountain. But after I was hit by the curse, I couldn't go. Yi Yu shook his head. Think about it carefully, did you miss any clues? Otherwise, Juni Chen wouldn't have asked them to look for Yi Yu. Yi Yu thought about it carefully, then shook his head. That day when I returned to the valley, I searched inside and out, but I couldn't find any clues. Where's your gu worm? Zi Shang suddenly asked. You said Black Overlord, it's here. Yi Yu took out a petrified cocoon from his pocket and said sorrowfully, after I was hit by the curse, Black Overlord wanted to help me detoxify the poison, but he turned into stone himself. Let me see. Yunjioga took the stone cocoon, and after sensing it with her heart, she discovered that there were still signs of life inside. Black Overlord can still be saved. Really? Yi Yu's eyes lit up, and he immediately begged, Missy, please save Black Overlord. Even if you don't say it, I would still save him. Yunjioga had a feeling that the reason Juni Chen asked them to look for Yi Yu was very likely related to Black Overlord. She calmed her mind, and once again injected her god power into the stone cocoon. The golden god power dyed the thumb-sized stone cocoon. The cocoon slowly melted, revealing a round, black figure. Black Overlord! Yi Yu shouted in surprise. The black figure moved, and a large bull head flipped out. It was a half-evolved Black Overlord. Master, are you all right? Black Overlord excitedly wanted to fly back to his master's side, but was grabbed by Yunjioga. Don't be anxious, Black Overlord, I have something to ask you. Big sister, it's you. Black Overlord looked at Yunjioga innocently. That's right, it's me. Let me ask you, on the day Juni Chen and Luo Tian disappeared, did you see anything? Yunjioga stuffed a cherry pill into Black Overlord's mouth. After Black Overlord swallowed it, he immediately became spirited, and started to recall in detail. That day, Master went out to look for a new cave abode, and I was accompanying Little Life and Little Red to cultivate, when a woman suddenly appeared in the cave abode. She praised Little Life and Little Red's good looks, and said that she wanted to bring them back to decorate. Juni Chen and Lord Luo Tian refused, and started to fight with that woman, but that woman was very powerful, and beat the two of them to the ground with one hand. That woman took Little Life and Little Red, and after that, she planned to kill their master. But I don't know what happened, but that woman suddenly said that Little Life and Little Red's master had a familiar smell, and took them away. Why didn't you tell me at that time? Yi Yu was anxious. You didn't ask me. What's more, that woman is so powerful, master, you would only be sending yourself to death if you went looking for her. Black Overlord felt very wronged, who asked his master to be so weak. Black Overlord, do you still remember that woman's name, and what she looks like? Yunjioga had a premonition that this woman was the nascent soul cultivator in the Divine Temple. Chapter 472. I don't know what she's called, I only know that she's very beautiful and smells good. Just smelling her makes me want to go with her. If it wasn't for her cruel methods of taking back his life and Little Red, the Black Tyrant would have abandoned Yi Yu to go with her. A very beautiful and smelling woman? Yunjioga thought of the woman in the goddess's temple. her silhouette was indeed a beautiful woman. But so what if he knew that nascent soul cultivator was a woman, he still couldn't find a way to deal with her. Black Orchid once said that the temple was built by her father after he received instructions from God. She should have some information about this woman. Zishang had already vaguely guessed what was going on, but he needed further confirmation. What if Wulan doesn't want to say it? Can your demon eye deal with her? Wulan was not only a golden core cultivator, she was also a very dark person. This kind of person was very hard to control with the demon eye. This sovereign doesn't only have the demon eye. Zishang's eyes were as cold as ink. If Wulan didn't want to cooperate, he didn't mind using some extreme methods. All right. Yunjioga nodded her head. There was no time to slowly get close to Wulan in this situation. Wait, you wouldn't want to kill the Wulan sisters, right? Yi Yu asked. That depends on the situation. They wouldn't kill them, but it was hard to say what other methods they would use. Young miss, the Wulan sisters aren't bad people, how about I go talk to them? Yi Yu thought that no matter what, he was the Wulan sisters' savior, they should give him face. You? Yunjioga looked over Yi Yu and shook her head. I'm not trying to hurt you, but if you knew what they did, you wouldn't be saying this. What did they do? Yi Yu was inexplicably nervous. They treated your corpses like little soldiers, not showing any respect at all. Moreover, they used your blood as a ritual. If I came a few days later, perhaps you would have lost a few parts of your body. Yunjioga threatened Yi Yu with half-truth and half-lies. She didn't want Yi Yu to hold her back while she was dealing with Wulan. They were actually this vicious. Yi Yu felt deeply hurt. He had used his life to save them, but they had become his test subjects. This feeling was not good at all. You just don't have a good eye for women. You should grow up a bit more. Yunjioga patted Yi Yu's shoulder in sympathy. Eldest miss, you've misunderstood. I have no such intentions towards them. Yi Yu was so anxious that his face had turned green. He had only saved the Black Orchid sisters because he wanted to get some information. He had no other intentions. I'm just kidding. Even if the Black Orchid sisters are so ferocious, they're not your cup of tea. Alright, you stay here and pretend to be unconscious. Don't let them see through you. Also, help me take care of the one on the second floor. Shirley was so weak that he could even kill a child. Yunjioga was worried that he would be left alone in the ice-stone building. Who's that on the second floor? Yi Yu asked. Corp's sect leader, Shirley, has been struck by the devouring power and is now extremely weak. We need someone to protect him, Yunjioga said in a low voice. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. Yi Yu nodded. I'll leave it to you. After Yunjioga said that, he jumped out of the window on the third floor and quietly arrived at the bamboo building in the middle of the valley. At this time, Black Orchid had just finished arranging the task of isolating the valley and was resting. When she saw Yunjioga come in, she was instantly shocked. Why is Miss Yun here? Why didn't that damned girl Wuxia send someone to inform her? I've collected some curse power in the valley earlier. I've specially brought it here for you to see. I hope it'll be of help to you. Yunjioga took out the jade bottle that contained Yi Yu's curse power. Black Orchid retreated as if she had seen a ghost. It was as if Yunjioga was holding poison. Don't be nervous. This bottle is specially made by our Corp's sect. It won't let the curse power escape. This bottle was a Qi bottle that had been modified by Zishang. It was perfect for sealing the curse power. I'm sorry. I was really scared out of my wits by this strange power. Black Orchid let out a sigh of relief and smiled embarrassedly. Miss Black Orchid, it's a good thing to be more vigilant. Yunjioga put the jade bottle on the table. Black Orchid carefully opened the jade bottle and found that it indeed contained curse power. She immediately said with joy, Miss Yun, since you can make a bottle like this, you must have a way to deal with the curse power. That's right. I do have a way. But whether or not I'll help you depends on your sincerity. Yun Jioga said lightly. Miss Yun, if you need anything, please let me know. As long as I, Black Orchid, can do it, I won't refuse. Black Orchid said without hesitation. I just want to know what your father received instructions from God. Please tell me in detail. Yun Jioga emphasized, this matter is very important. It concerns the survival of your 100,000 mountains. Miss Yun, I've only heard my father mention it once. I don't know the specifics. Black Orchid shook her head. Miss Black Orchid, I won't hide it from you. Actually, I've already gone to the Divine Temple on Goddess Mountain. There's a woman whose cultivation is comparable to nascent soul stage. This curse power and devouring power are both caused by her. I want to help you deal with her, but your attitude makes me feel that it's not worth the risk. Yun Jioga said as he observed Black Orchid's expression. Seeing that she was slightly moved but still hesitant, he stood and said, since I can make a bottle that restrains the curse power, I naturally have a way to leave the 100,000 mountains safely. Since you don't have sincerity, then I'll take my leave. Miss Yun, wait. Black Orchid hurriedly stopped Yun Jioga. This was her only hope. She definitely couldn't let her go. Miss Black Orchid, is there anything else? Yun Jioga raised his brows and asked. Miss Yun, now that things have come to this, I won't hide it from you. Actually, there's no God's will. It was a woman with profound cultivation who forced my father to help her build a divine temple. This woman is vicious and cruel. Not only did she steal the treasures that our 5 Venoms Order had accumulated over the centuries, she also purposely made things difficult for my father and told him to find someone. When Black Orchid spoke of this woman, she gritted her teeth. Her expression was savage and filled with hatred. Who does she want you to find? Yun Jioga asked. She wants us to find a woman who is noble and mysterious, beautiful and pure. She even said that this woman is the most perfect person in the world. Be it man or woman, old or young, flying insects or beasts, monsters or demons, as long as they see her, they will fall in love with her. Black Orchid's expression was one of grief and indignation as she said, Miss Yun, do you think there's a woman like this in the world? Even a god is nothing more than this. Such a miraculous woman, I'd like to meet her as well. Yun Jioga shook his head. He also felt that this woman was purposely making things difficult for the 5 Venoms Order's master. Because my father failed to help her complete her mission, she turned all of us from the 5 Venoms Order into stone statues in a fit of rage. Black Orchid's eyes reddened and she couldn't hold back her tears. Miss Yun, that woman is a madwoman. Please help me destroy her and save our 5 Venoms Order. Chapter 473. Then have you seen her? What does she look like? What artifact does she use? What are her characteristics? Yun Jioga asked quickly. I have never seen her. Father used his last consciousness to tell me these things. Black Orchid shook her head and sighed. If she had seen her, she would have fought her already. Yun Jioga frowned and secretly sent a message to Zishang. After talking for so long, there is no clue at all. Who says there isn't? I already know who that woman in the temple is looking for, Zishang replied. Who? Yun Jioga asked in surprise. Are you really stupid or just pretending? You are the person she is looking for. Zishang looked Yun Jioga up and down. Are you joking? Yun Jioga did not feel that she had anything to do with nobility, mystery, beauty, or holiness. She did not have the charm that made men, women, children, insects, beasts, or ghosts fall in love with her. Not the present you, the past you. Yun Jioga was a god in his previous life on the Azure Waves continent. Okay, why is she looking for the past me? Yunjioge had a bad feeling. Don't let it be another ill-fated relationship. If I am not wrong, that woman should be the princess of the spirit race, your former maid, Yu Ling Er, Zi Shang said gravely. Ling Er. The face of a beautiful, kind, calm, gentle, and considerate woman immediately appeared in Yunjioge's mind. In terms of who was the most loyal to her in the divine palace, Yu Ling Er would definitely be at the top. Even Wuxia would be behind her. I remember that before I reincarnated, I sent her back to the spirit race to inherit the throne. Yunjioge left a letter for Yu Ling Er, asking her to leave early. Yes, she returned to the spirit race, but not long after, she committed suicide. Wuxia had told him this in private. Impossible. Yunjioge did not believe it. Even if Yu Ling Er missed her, she should have followed her reincarnation like Wuxia did. How could she commit suicide? Why would I lie to you? Wuxia once went to the spirit race to investigate but did not find anything. Zi Shang's expression was heavy. No wonder the devouring power looked so familiar. It is the resentment left behind by Ling Er's suicide. Yunjioge had to accept the truth. The spirit race was a peace-loving race. Although their combat strength was not high, no one dared to offend them. This was because the will they left behind after they died was extremely powerful. Their curses and devouring abilities were even more terrifying. Given the current situation, we cannot use force. We can only use our wits. We must find a way to eliminate her resentment, Zi Shang said solemnly. Right now, Yu Ling Er was only left with a spiritual body. She was undying and indestructible. Even if Yunjioge hardened his heart and used the god fire to kill her, it would be useless. The remaining resentment could not be dispelled. If it was the Yunjioge of the past, he could use his divine power to dispel it, but now it was impossible. I don't even know what her resentment is. How can I get rid of it? In Yunjioge's memory, Yu Ling had a stubborn personality. Once she decided on something, she would not change her mind. Although she would unconditionally obey any order he gave, she would not change her mind. It was difficult to eliminate her resentment. I'm guessing that her resentment is just being with you. There is nothing else. Zi Shang sighed inside. Back then, all the men and women who surrounded the goddess fought desperately to get Yunjioge's attention. Even he was no exception. She has become an earth-bound spirit. She cannot leave Goddess Mountain. Yunjioge sighed. She actually liked Yu Ling Er. She could keep her by her side forever. But her resentment had spread through 100,000 mountains. She could not leave. You have to figure this out yourself. I cannot help you. Zi Shang could help Yunjioge fight, but he could not help her resolve other women's thoughts. You want me to go see her alone? Yunjioge was panicking. The memories from her past life were just memories. In this life, she was still unfamiliar with Yu Ling Er. She was not confident she could deal with her. If she sees me with you, I'm afraid she'll turn evil in an instant. Zi Shang grimaced. Sister Ling Er looked weak, but she was actually very jealous. Seeing him would only make things worse. Okay, I'll go find her and ask her why she committed suicide. Yunjioge gritted her teeth. She did not believe that Yu Ling Er, who was soft on the outside but hard on the inside, would commit suicide for no reason and leave behind so much resentment. No, you cannot ask her this question. Zi Shang denied. Why? If he did not find out the cause of her death, how could he get rid of her obsession? Yu Ling Er's curse has not spread. That means she still has some consciousness. What if you trigger her painful memories and make her go crazy? Zi Shang had seen the spirit race's resentment go crazy. 100,000 mountains could be destroyed instantly. Okay, I'll find her first. Then we'll act according to the situation. Yunjioge sighed. The sins of her past life had to be resolved even if she cried. Before that, make 5 poison sects spit out what they took. Zi Shang's gaze was cold. Yu Ling had a lot of flaws, but she would never bully the weak. She asked 5 poison sect for help because it was an equal exchange. She was not as overbearing and vicious as Black Lawn said. Don't worry, I promise I'll make them spit it out with interest. If 5 poison sect had not been so greedy, they would not have angered Ling. They had to pay for all of this. Miss Yun, what's wrong? Black Lawn saw that Yun Jioga's spirit was too weak and could not help but wave a hand in front of her. Yun Jioga came back and looked coldly at Black Lawn. Miss Yun, why are you looking at me like that? Black Lawn's scalp felt numb under Yun Jioga's gaze. Black Lawn, oh Black Lawn, you still want to hide things from me. Did 5 poison sects fate not teach you a lesson? Yun Jioga laughed mockingly. I do not understand Miss Yun's words. Black Lawn's eyes flashed and her heart jumped. Had she discovered something? If you hand over the thing, you still have a chance to live. Otherwise. Yun Jioga thought of the Black Eagles in Eagle Park and decided to give Black Lawn another chance. Miss Yun, have you misunderstood something? Father only left behind some remnant thoughts before he died. He did not leave anything else. Black Lawn still wanted to argue, but Yun Jioga did not want to listen anymore. I'll give you one night to think about it. Do you want to die with the treasure, or do you want to help you and your believers find a way to live? Choose. Yun Jioga finished speaking and went straight back to the ice building. She saw Yin Shirley sitting cross-legged in meditation on the 3rd floor. His face was still very pale. Yi Yu was waiting by the side. When he saw Yun Jioga return, he immediately asked, "How is it? Are the Black Lawn sisters dead?" Chapter 474. Hearing Yi Yu's question, Yun Jioga couldn't help but laugh. Do you want them to die or not? The Miao people in this valley still need them to survive. If possible, let them live. Yi Yu mumbled. He had no romantic feelings for the Wu Lan sisters. He just felt that it wasn't easy for the two of them to support a sect. Don't worry, the 2 sisters are fine. I've already asked about what happened on Goddess Mountain. The nascent soul cultivator in the temple only erupted in resentment because 5 Venom sect cheated her of something. As long as Wu Lan returns the item to her, everything will be fine, Yun Jioga said concisely. That simple? Yi Yu was stunned. That's simple. Yun Jioga nodded. As for what happened between her and Yu Ling, there was no need to tell them. What did 5 poison sect cheat them of? Yin Shirley, who was meditating at the side, couldn't help but interrupt. Probably a tear. Yun Jioga said with complicated feelings. What tear is so powerful? Yi Yu found it unbelievable. No matter what, the 5 poison sect was the most powerful sect in the 100,000 mountains. How could it be possible for such an unreliable thing to attract unexpected disaster? There are many treasures related to tears. I heard that the tears of mermaids can become pearls, the tears of the fire race can become flint, but the most precious is the blood tears of the spirit bead. Legend has it that the blood tears of the spirit race are formed from the purest spiritual power in the world. After a cultivator worships them, they have a chance to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. They are extremely precious treasures. Are you talking about this? Yin Shirley looked suspiciously at Yun Jioga. Sect leader is indeed knowledgeable. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Yun Jioga's expression was melancholic. She remembered that Ling once told her that if one day she shed tears of blood, it would be for her. Now that her physical body had disappeared, her soul storage bag couldn't follow her. This was the only treasure she had left. But she couldn't give this to 5 poison sect's leader. At most, she would let him worship it for a while. Five Poison sect's leader probably wanted to steal the treasure but ended up being cursed instead. No wonder, this kind of treasure can drive people crazy. I'm afraid Wulan won't take it out easily. Ian Shirley put himself in her shoes. If he was in her shoes, he wouldn't be willing either. If you can't bear to, then just wait for death. Yun Jioga was only giving her time to think about it because Black Orchid had given her a dummy. If she continued to feign ignorance and did not take the initiative to take it out, then she could not blame them for directly snatching it from her. At that time, she could forget about breaking the curse of the Five Poison cult. Sigh, the most difficult thing in the human world is to make a choice. Ian Shirley's words carried a hint of schadenfreude. Don't be in a hurry to sigh. How are you recovering now? If Wulan becomes desperate and takes you as a hostage, I won't have time for you. No matter what choice Wulan made the next day, Yun Jioga had to go to Goddess Mountain to find Yulinger. The safety of Ian Shirley and Yi Yu was a problem. Don't worry about me, young Mississippi. I'll just find a random place to hide. I'm sure no one will be able to find me. Although Yi Yu was only at the Foundation Establishment middle stage, he had mastered quite a number of secret techniques after cultivating with Junie Chen and the others for so long. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to rescue the Wulan sisters from the Five Venoms cult. You don't have to worry about me. Ian Shirley secretly transmitted his voice to Yun Jioga. It's just that my heart of heaven and earth is weak. My physical body is fine. If worst comes to worst, I'll seal my spirit heart and return to being a Ian corpse to follow you. Then seal your spirit heart. I'll just put you in the corpse refining bag. Yun Jioga felt that this was a good idea. Alright, but you have to send this brat away first. Ian Shirley's identity as a walking corpse was his biggest secret. He definitely could not reveal it. Alright. Yun Jioga called Yi Yu to the side and said, you can't stay here anymore. Go out and find a place to stay first. Yi Yu strangely felt that this excuse sounded very familiar. Go. That's right, Yun Jioga was using Luo Tian and Junie Chen as an excuse. He didn't care at all how much psychological trauma it would bring to Yi Yu. I'll go now. Even though Yi Yu knew this was a trap, he could only jump in. He took Yi Yunji and sneaked away from the third floor, disappearing into the shadows. Alright, he's gone. Hurry up and come in. Yun Jioga said to Ian Shirley. Ian Shirley closed his eyes. His chest, which had been rising and falling slightly, instantly stopped beating. The blood drained from his face, and he instantly turned into a corpse. Yun Jioga used the corpse refining bag to keep Ian Shirley, then sat cross-legged on the ground to regulate his breathing. I'm going out for a walk. Zi Shang suddenly stood up and said. Go, don't go too far. Yun Jioga didn't even lift his eyelids. He already had a rough idea of where Zi Shang was going. Zi Shang's figure flashed, and he disappeared without a trace. In the room in the middle of the valley, Wulan stared at the blood teardrop enshrined on it in a daze. After the Five Poison sect was contaminated by the curse, she risked her life to bring this treasure out. In just a short 3 months, she had advanced from the late stages of the Foundation Establishment stage to the Golden Core stage. She believed that as long as she had this treasure, entering the nascent soul stage would not be a problem. Asking her to hand it over was worse than death. But if she didn't hand it over, forget about Yun Jioga, the woman in the temple would not let her go. The reason why she could escape until now was because she had used her father's cover in the Five Poison sect. Even though she knew she could not stay, Wulan was still unwilling. Her eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Finally, she walked out of the room and called Wuya over, pass down my orders, all believers surround the ice stone building. Sister, what are you doing? Wuya asked. Yun Jioga and the Golden Core from Ian Corp's sect have a way to deal with the curse and the devouring power. We have to make her hand it over. Wulan instantly made up her mind. As long as she got the way to deal with the curse and the devouring power, even without Yunjioga's help, she could still destroy the woman in the temple. Okay, I'll go immediately. Wuya nodded strongly. She immediately gathered all the believers with cultivation to surround the ice-stone building. Yunjioga stood on the third floor of the ice-stone building, watching coldly as Wuya brainwashed the believers. Believers, as long as we take down that woman, we can get the way to break the curse. The normal believers were excited as if they saw the light at the end of the tunnel. But they did not know that Wuya was just sending them to their deaths. But the most cunning one was still Wulan. She had been hiding in the back, probably thinking that if Wuya failed, she would come out to smooth things over. It was indeed a good plan. How about it, do you want to kill them all? Zishang silently appeared beside Yunjioga. He was in a bad mood and really wanted to kill some ants for fun. Chapter 475. They're just ignorant people. What's the point of killing them? Since Wulan has made her choice, we don't have to waste time here. Let's go. Yunjioga shook her head. Without looking at Wuya again, she turned and left the building with Zishang. By the time Wuya brought people to kill them, it was already too late. Yunjioga walked out of the valley and summoned Dummy. To Goddess Mountain. Ao. Dummy responded, then dragged the two of them towards Goddess Mountain. Yunjioga sat cross-legged on Dummy's back and turned to Zishang. Did you get it? What thing? Zishang raised an eyebrow. Don't play dumb. Didn't you go out to get Ling Er's blood tears? Yunjioga knew what Zishang wanted to do. Humph, your sister Ling shed blood tears for you. Keep them. Zishang took out a jade box unwillingly. He hated everyone who tried to steal Yunjioga from him, even women. Look at how jealous you are. I only see her as a sister. Yunjioga wasn't immoral in her previous life, but she'd never done anything to you Ling Er. You make it sound nice. Zishang didn't want to appear so petty. But when he thought of how Yunjioga and Ling Er were inseparable, he felt jealous. I can't be bothered with you. Yunjioga rolled her eyes at Zishang and opened the jade box. Inside, there was a crystal-clear, incomparably beautiful tear of blood. It gave off a gentle glow in the dark room. Yunjioga reached out to touch the blood tear. Pure spiritual power entered her body through her fingers. It was indescribably comfortable. But so long as one calmed down and looked carefully, one would discover that it contained 1,000 words of speechlessness and boundless deep love, and it was simply unbearable. Yunjioga felt her scalp go numb. She was about to pull her hand back when the blood tear stabbed into her palm and disappeared. What happened? Yunjioga opened her palm. Her skin was as white as jade. There wasn't even a hole. The blood and tears she shed for you will naturally return to you. Now that she has discovered your location, she will probably come to get you. I will return to the mark first. Unless absolutely necessary, do not call out to me. After saying that, Zishang transformed into a beam of light and flew back into the mark on Yunjioga's arm. Hey, you can't just run away like that. Yunjioga pinched the seal, but Zishang did not react at all. Not far away, Goddess Mountain suddenly lit up with a gentle white light. A blanket woven from white threads extended down from the temple and came right in front of Yunjioga. Celestial music played, flower petals fluttered, the Miao people in the temple all knelt on the ground, they stood up and shouted, "Welcome Goddess Darren." Yunjioga smelled a familiar scent coming from the white carpet. It was Yulinger's unique fragrance. The spirit race grew up absorbing pure spiritual energy, so they naturally had a very special body fragrance. This was also the reason why Fei Fei, Black Tyrant, and the others always wanted to run with her. Yunjioga was about to step onto the light carpet when Dummy, who was under her feet, suddenly opened its beak and madly spat out a series of fireballs at the light carpet. The beautiful light carpet suddenly became very fierce. It opened its mouth and swallowed all of Dummy's fireballs. Then it aggressively tried to swallow Dummy. Ow ow ow. Dummy was not afraid. Instead, it looked like it was going to die, and it looked like it was going to fight the white silk to the end. Yunjioga hurriedly swatted the white silk away. The ferocious white silk was very weak in front of Yunjioga. After it dispersed, it floated to the side with an aggrieved expression, as if saying, "How could you treat me like this? Ow ow ow." Dummy squinted its eyes and wanted to continue charging. Yunjioga hurriedly pressed down on its big head and shouted, "What are you doing, Dummy? Why are you going crazy? Enemies, kill them all, kill them all." Dummy's muddled brain sent a crazy message to Yunjioga. Originally, its brain was blocked by a golden-gray ball of light. Now, the ball of light was even more intense, and its brain was about to explode. Calm down. Yunjioga pinched the thunder fire needle and stabbed it into its Baihui point, forcefully sealing its soul. Dummy's eyes rolled back and it fell straight down. Yunjioga hurriedly grabbed its huge body and stuffed it into the spirit beast bag, but it made Feifei and the other spirit beasts unhappy. So fat, it's a hindrance. Bear with it for now. I'll get a bigger one later. Yunjioga comforted Feifei while thinking about Dummy going crazy. This gold-core black eagle, which had not yet developed intelligence, had been full of mystery since it appeared. Previously, when Yunjioga communicated with it, she found that it only had the instinct to eat. This was the first time she saw it explode with such a clear thought. Could it be that the white silk had a grudge against it? "Master, what are you thinking about?" A gentle and sweet voice sounded in Yunjioga's ear. She looked up and saw Yu Ling, standing on a cloud made of white silk, looking at her. She was still as beautiful and gentle as she remembered, heroic but not lacking in cuteness. It was just that before, Ling was still human. Now, Ling was just a soul. Her feet were floating, and her feet did not touch the ground. "Ling, why did you pick me up again?" In the past, every time she came back from a trip, Yu Ling would welcome her personally. "Master, I missed you." Yu Ling seemed to be sighing and smiling. The white silk under her feet turned into a long carpet again, and she brought Yunjioga into the temple. Yunjioga was in the white jade corridor. She finally knew why she felt this temple was a bit familiar. Wasn't this the decoration she had in the temple? Although it was a bit crude, she could still see the prototype. "Originally, I wanted to help you build a new god palace. Unfortunately, there is nothing good in this remote place. Even this little bit of white jade took me a lot of effort." Yu Ling felt very guilty. She could not give the honorable goddess the best thing she could. "It's okay. If I really let you build a temple, Elder Yu will cry," Yunjioga said very naturally. Elder Yu was one of the builders of the temple. His biggest wish in life was to continuously improve the beauty of the temple. "Master, you must be joking. I don't dare to compare myself to Elder Yu." Yu Ling giggled. Her eyes and eyebrows curved. The atmosphere was very warm. It was as if time had turned back. Yunjioga really wanted to ask Yu Ling why she wanted to commit suicide, but he was afraid the question would provoke her to become evil, so he changed the topic. "I took in a Jindan mount that did not have intelligence. When it saw your white silk, it was as if it saw someone who killed its father. Do you have a grudge against it? Are you talking about the black eagle that was so fat I couldn't see?" Yu Ling lowered her head and thought carefully. She even asked her white and gray silk. In the end, she shook her head and said, "Master, my white and cursed silk have only appeared in Goddess Mountain and 5 Poison Sect. They have not consumed any black eagle beasts." Chapter 476. Then why is it shaking? Yunjioge believed that Yu Ling wouldn't lie to her. It seemed that dummy was the problem. Mistress, that mount is too ugly. I'll help you find a prettier one. How about a 7-colored peacock? Yu Ling's slender fingers swept through the air. A beautiful and elegant bird appeared in front of Yunjioge. It's pretty, but it's not special. Yunjioge shook her head. Dummy was a bit stupid, but it was already her bird. She had to protect it until the end. You're right. Mistress has good taste. Yu Ling worshipped Yunjioge blindly. If Yunjioge said flowers were smelly and farts were fragrant, she would nod seriously. Of course. Yunjioge revealed a reserved and slightly arrogant smile. She was starting to find the feeling of being a goddess. Mistress, you've been tired outside all day. I've already prepared a medicinal bath for you. Do you want to go now? Every time Yunjioge returned from outside, Yu Ling would prepare a medicinal bath to welcome her. The spirit clan was best at making medicinal baths that could cleanse one's body. It was also Yunjioge's favorite. There's no hurry. Let me ask you something first. Previously, I had a few companions waiting outside. Did you see them? Yunjioge briefly explained the symptoms of Cho Sun, Nangong Li, and Bailey Moyun. Are you talking about these three? Yu Ling crooked her finger and showed the images of Cho Sun, Nangong Li, and Bailey Moyun. Yes, them. Yunjioge nodded. The three of them brought tokens to enter the secret land of chaos and asked to see you. After checking, I let them in. Yu Ling nodded. Wait, you said they had tokens to enter the secret land of chaos. What do you mean? Things were developing differently from what she'd imagined. This god temple leads to a secret area called chaos. I am the gatekeeper. As long as you have a token to enter the secret area, you can enter. I remember that their token was a woman lying in a coffin. Yu Ling waved her finger and drew the scene of what had happened. Cho Sun, Nangong Li, and Bailey Moyun were carrying a blood-red coffin. Inside lay Nangong Yu. Damn! Yunjioge cursed inwardly. He never thought that Nangong Yu would be the token to enter the mystic realm. What was even more hateful was that Nangong Li and Bailey Moyun might have already known about this matter, yet they still deceived her together with Cho Senator. This was truly intolerable. Yunjioge swore that if he met them in the mystic realm, he would beat them until their teeth fell out. Sir, I know you are here to enter Chaos Secret Land, but I will not let you in, Yu Ling suddenly said. Why? Yunjioge frowned. Because if you go in, you will die for sure. You have already reincarnated twice. If you reincarnate again, you will truly fall into the world of mortals and suffer the pain of reincarnation. Yu Ling spoke word by word. Ling do you know something? Originally, Yunjioge thought that Yu Ling had become a resentful spirit because she was too obsessed with him. Now it seemed that there was more to it than met the eye. That's right. The reason I became a spirit was to protect you here and stop you from dying. Yu Ling's words surprised Yunjioge. Why are you so sure that I will die in Chaos Secret Land? Who told you that? Yu Ling was not good at divination. Someone must have instigated her. Li Wei told me. Yu Ling's answer surprised Yunjioge. Impossible. Li Wei immediately left with me when I reincarnated. Why would he go find you? You must have been tricked, Yunjioge said without hesitation. Sir, it doesn't matter if you are tricked or not. You have already lost your divine power. You are no longer the omnipotent goddess you used to be. Yu Ling's expression was sad, and her voice was pained. Sir, in your past life, you sacrificed yourself to save the world. In this life, just live your life well. Don't worry about those trivial things, okay? Ling, if the nest is overturned, there will be no eggs left intact. If this catastrophe really comes, I will not be able to escape death. Yun Jioge wanted to find a place to hide and live, but if the catastrophe really came, the entire Kanglan continent would be destroyed. She would be finished too. Sir, don't worry. Even if Kanglan continent falls apart, the temple I built for you will be fine. Yu Ling waved her hand, and the entire temple turned gray. It was built with curse power and devouring power, like the strongest fortress. No matter how strong your temple is, what is the point of just the two of us? Plus, Yu Ling was no longer human. I knew you would say that, so I invited your friends to accompany you. Yu Ling smiled. Juni Chen and Luo Tian appeared respectfully in front of Yun Jioge. Behind them was Yi Yu. This unlucky kid had been captured not long after he left Black Orchid Valley. You took their souls. What is the difference between them and puppets? Yun Jioge frowned. Master, you misunderstand me, Yu Ling said gently. I saw that their cultivation was too low, and they were not worthy of being your friends. That is why I took their souls and nurtured them. Once I put them back, they will have gold core cultivation. Yun Jioge was speechless. Yu Ling was very good at nurturing souls. She could even nurture a nascent soul, let alone a gold core. Sir, the medicinal bath I prepared is getting cold. Hurry up and soak in it. Yu Ling took Yun Jioge's hand and walked through the hallway to the bath. The inside was also carved with white jade. The wide bath was divided into 2 layers, like a big pot covering a small pot. The outermost layer was sprayed with spirit water. The middle layer was filled with milky white liquid. It was full of spirit energy and smelled good. Sir, you were poisoned by the 9-bone crusher, Yu Ling explained. Your meridians have been greatly damaged. This medicinal bath can repair your damaged meridians and purify your spirit root. Although it can't reach the phoenix body you had in your past life, it can raise your root to beyond the 1st rank. She came over to help Yun Jioge take off his clothes. No, I can do it myself. Yun Jioge had bathed with Yu Ling in his past life, but their relationship now was different. It would be strange if they were to be naked. Sir, you used to bathe with me. Yu Ling sighed. She looked sad. The devouring white silk and cursing gray silk also looked listless. You said that I have reincarnated twice. Everything is different. Yun Jioge hardened his heart. He did not want to give Yu Ling any hope. I know you like Zishang the most, and I know he is always by your side. But it doesn't matter. As long as you are happy, that is fine. Yu Ling bowed to Yun Jioge. Then you can bathe yourself. I will guard the door. If you need anything, just tell me. Then she left. When the door closed, Yun Jioge immediately called for Zishang. Come out, come out. Chapter 477. Amidst Yun Jioge's urgent calls, Zishang finally appeared. He raised his hand and threw her into the pool. With a bang, water splashed everywhere. Yun Jioge emerged from the water and shouted angrily, "What are you doing? It's such a good bath. It would be a waste not to soak in it," Zishang said matter-of-factly. Why are you soaking in a stupid bath at a time like this? Yun Jioge thought Zishang was crazy. This bath is good for your body. Hurry up and take off your clothes. Zishang quickly stripped Yun Jioge naked. Yun Jioge felt a cold breeze on her chest. She quickly sat in the pool and only poked her head out. She asked Zishang, "You heard what Yu Ling said, right?" "Yes." Zishang put Yun Jioge's clothes on the edge of the pool. "How do you feel? Did Li Wei really encourage her to kill herself?" Yun Jioge had been reincarnated for too long. She couldn't be sure if those people were still loyal to her. What did you tell Li Wei? Zishang turned around and asked. I told him to reincarnate with me immediately without delay, Yun Jioge said with certainty. Then he won't do anything unnecessary. Li Wei has always been a stickler for rules. If you say one thing, he definitely won't do another. Zishang had been by Yun Jioge's side for the longest time and knew her divine guards like the back of his hand. So someone pretended to be Li Wei and went to find Yu Ling, Who? Yun Jioge thought quickly but had no clues. You immediately reincarnated after mending the sky. The God Palace was in chaos. I don't know who it was, but that person must have hidden very well. Even Wan Sha couldn't find any clues. Zishang and Wan Sha had made many guesses, but they couldn't be sure who did it. Damn, if I find out who's behind this, I'll kill him. Yun Jioge was angry. The gentle and considerate servant suddenly turned evil and attacked. Even a saint would go crazy. I'll think of a way to send this back for Wan Sha to investigate. But right now, the most important thing is to find Li Wei in the realm of chaos. If that person pretended to be him, there must be a reason, Zishang said. You know Ling Er's personality. If she's determined to stop me, there's nothing I can do. Yun Jioge sighed. Ling had always been stubborn. Originally, she only needed to serve for 10 years before she could leave to inherit the spirit race. But after she took office, she insisted on staying. She would rather be a little maidservant by her side and manage the daily chores of life than return to the spirit race to become the supreme empress. She had even chased away all of the elders who had come to persuade her. Now that she was a spirit and only had her will left, and was even. Talk to her again. She listens to you the most. Zishang paused for a moment before continuing, if it really doesn't work, you can order her to commit suicide. Even if she listens to my orders and commits suicide, she won't do it willingly. At that time, her resentment will still erupt. Yun Jioge rolled his eyes at Zishang and kept coming up with bad ideas. Ling, of, Shang, of, Yun. Zishang said. He thought. She. Of. However, he only dared to say these words in his heart. He didn't dare let Yun Jioge hear him, or else she would definitely reprimand him. No matter how many times Yun Jioge reincarnated, she would always have a goddess complex. She pitied the world and hated killing the innocent. By the way, Chosun actually brought 2 foundation establishment cultivators to the mystic realm alone. Do you think he's out of his mind? Yun Jioge felt depressed at the mention of this. Chosun didn't have that idea before. It's possible Nangongyu instigated it, Zishang said. I should have asked Nangongli to hand over Nangongyu's soul. She was too soft-hearted. Handing it over is useless. Yu Ling won't let you go. In the end, none of you will get in, Zishang said realistically. According to you, they were right to get rid of me? Yun Jioge glared at Zishang. Did he know how to talk? No. If they knew Yu Ling would stop you, then Nangongyu has a problem. Yun Jioge and Yu Ling's relationship was known only by the people of God Palace. How could a regular cultivator like Nangongyu know? I think so too. Nangongyu is the token to enter the hidden territory of chaos. What happened to her in the hidden territory? Yun Jioge found that there were more and more mysteries in this hidden territory of chaos. The most important thing now is to find a way to enter the hidden territory. Otherwise, it would be pointless to say anything else. After going around in a circle, they still returned to this topic. Yun Jioge couldn't help but sigh. Just then, Yu Ling's voice came from outside. Master, are you done? Zishang immediately slipped back into Yun Jioge's mark. He was determined not to meet Yu Ling. Wait. Yunjioga just realized that the white medicinal liquid in the bath had turned gray. She used the spiritual water on the outside to clean herself and put on the clothes Yuling prepared. The pure white robe looked like it was woven from clouds. It softly clung to her body. The long hem was like silk rippling in the water, swaying with Yunjioga's steps. She pushed open the door. The faint fragrance of flowers was refreshing, and heavenly music was pleasant to the ear. 2 rows of servants in blue dresses stood on either side. Yuling Air came forward with a smile and said, "Sir, I have prepared your favorite heaven fragrance dew. Go and eat." When Yunjioga ate, she mentioned her mission and the world to Yuling Er. She even took out her god fire to show Yuling that she could protect her. When Yuling saw Yunjioga's pitiful amount of god power, she almost cried. She was even more determined to protect her. At night, Yunjioga firmly refused Yuling Er's suggestion to stay with her. She lay down on the cloud bed, exhausted. "Tch, how stupid are you to show your god power to her?" Zishang said unceremoniously. "If you can do it, then do it." Yunjioga snapped. Zishang didn't say anything. He really couldn't do anything to Yuling Er. "If the soft way doesn't work, then I'll do it the hard way." Yunjioga jumped up from the bed and decided to go into the hidden territory of chaos. She quietly opened the door and found there were only puppet guards in the hallway. She stealthily walked toward the god temple. The god temple was beautiful and spacious. There was only one statue in the main hall, and top-level spirit incense was placed under it. The statue was carved from white jade. It looked similar to Yunjioga, but the temperament was completely different. Yunjioga looked at the mysterious, beautiful, noble, and merciful statue and confirmed that she was different from before. Before, she was a god. Now, she was a human, and a human with mediocre power. But no matter what, she still had to carry the responsibility on her shoulders. Yunjioga pulled herself together and started to search for the secret door. She finally found the mechanism under the statue. The secret door opened, revealing a dark passageway. Chapter 478. Yunjioga walked in without hesitation. He saw that the dark walkway was filled with black death air. It was a stark contrast to the beautiful temple. At the end of the walkway was the entrance to the secret place. A disgusting smell wafted into his nose. There was a mirror at the entrance of the secret place, and it reflected a horrible scene. There were thousands of miles of white bones. It was like hell on earth. This is not a secret place, it's a place of death. Yunjioga reached out to touch the mirror but found nothing. This is just a small part of the secret place. If you want to go in, you must find the real entrance, Zishang said from inside Yunjioga's mark. Where is the real entrance? Yunjioga opened his spirit eye and looked around, but there was nothing. Only Yuling Er knows the real entrance, and only she can open it. He was powerless. I thought you could do anything. Yunjioga noticed that Zishang was very careful around Yuling Er. He didn't even dare show his face. That depends on the situation. Unless I kill myself and become a spirit body, then I can fight her. The curse and the devouring power were formed by resentment. After finding Yunjioga, he had no regrets. It would be difficult to kill himself. In the end, I still need her help. Yunjioga felt like this was an unsolvable problem. Not good, she's here. Just as Zishang spoke, Yuling Er appeared in front of Yunjioga. At this time, the handsome and beautiful face was ashen like a corpse. Her red eyes stared at Yunjioga as she angrily and sorrowfully said, "My lord, I have already done this, why won't you listen to me? Ling Er, I have to go to this secret place." Yunjioga tried to reason with her. But Yuling Er didn't want to listen. "Mister, you have been bewitched. I will not watch you die. After Yu Ling said this, she used the gray silk to bring Yunjioge back to the room and lock him up. Yu Ling, what do you mean? Are you going to lock me up? Yunjioge couldn't believe the once gentle and beautiful Ling would treat him like this. Mister, I am doing this for your own good. One day, you will understand my difficulties. Yu Ling's voice faded away, leaving behind only the gray silk around the room. Angrily, Yunjioge ignited his divine flame and aimed it at the grayish-white threads. Unfortunately, even after burning layer after layer, she couldn't even burn a hole until her divine power was exhausted. It's useless. You're too weak right now. Zishang didn't want to hurt Yunjioge's feelings, but this was reality. F***ck. Yunjioge's chest heaved violently, but he quickly calmed down. Losing his temper wouldn't solve the problem. He had to think of another way. Zishang, what do you think about me tricking her into not going to the Arcana realm, then leaving this place and finding another passage to enter? Yunjioge recalled what Bailey Moyun had said, that the Golden Core cultivators of the 5 great sects of the righteous path had formed teams and entered the mystic realm through another passage. It's useless. She will never let you go. Zishang waved his hand and an image appeared before Yunjioge. The goddess mountain had already been covered by the densely packed threads, turning into an incomparably tall mountain. Even if I take you and escape, she will chase you to the ends of the earth. Everywhere she goes, lives will be lost. I'm guessing that the person who encouraged Yu Ling to kill herself would love to see that happen. Although Zishang didn't know who that person was, he was sure that they didn't have good intentions. Then what do I do? Am I going to be trapped here until I die? Yunjioge was depressed. There's nothing bad about being trapped here. Yu Ling is best at making medicinal baths to help people train their bodies and also to nurture their souls. If you cultivate here for 10 years, forget Yuanying, you'll be able to reach demigod. Zishang was giving Yunjioge hope. If demigod is so easy, then how come there's only one goddess in a few thousand years? Yunjioge said impatiently. Since we can't get out now, why don't we take care of ourselves? That will be good for you. Zishang wasn't in a hurry to leave because of this. If Yu Ling was used well, it would be an opportunity for Yunjioge. Okay then. Yunjioge sighed. Solving Yu Ling's obsession required time. Now, he had no other choice. The next day, Yunjioge took the initiative to ask Yu Ling to make a medicinal bath for her. Yu Ling was very excited. She felt that Yunjioge had thought it through, so she immediately made one for her. Just like this, she soaked for 3 days. Yunjioge's meridians were unprecedentedly good. In an instant, she entered Gold Core from the early stage of foundation establishment. It was even faster than wearing the wind and thunder wings. Yunjioge was very uneasy. Making a powerful medicinal bath required a lot of resources. Yu Ling didn't have enough, so she could only plunder. She didn't know what was going on in the 100,000 mountains. This feeling made her very uneasy. Zishang, we can't go on like this. We have to find a way to leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid Ling will do something stupid. Yunjioge looked for Zishang to discuss. Yu Ling only made a few medicinal baths. What's there to worry about? Zishang naturally knew that Yu Ling was plundering resources, but he didn't care. In any case, when the calamity arrived, the continent would be destroyed. It was better to give them to Yunjioge to nourish. In the end, this was what Blue Wave's continent owed her. What do you mean? You also don't want me to go to Primal Chaos' secret territory. The more Yunjioge thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Previously, Zishang had always wanted to seal her memory and make her a sweet and innocent girl. I don't. Zishang had an innocent expression. How could he admit that he was the same as Yuling? He wanted to find a safe place to hide Yunjioge. He didn't want her to sacrifice herself for the common people. It would be strange if I believed you. Sure enough, relying on others was enough. Yunjioge decided to save herself. The first thing she did was to find an ally. The maids and guards of this divine palace, including Yi Yu, Luo Tian, and Junichen, were all controlled by Yuling. However, there was an exception, and that was Yi Yunji. Yi Yunji was Yi Yu's own corpse. Because of her ugly appearance, Yuling didn't like her. So, she was placed outside the divine palace. However, she wasn't forbidden from entering or leaving the divine palace. Yunjioge was looking for an ally. Everyone thought that Yi Yunji's consciousness had already dissipated. However, Yunjioge could use the world spirit heart to attach a part of her soul to see what was happening outside. Yunjioge didn't even tell Zishang about this. When she was soaking in the medicinal bath, she used the power of the world spirit heart to secretly attach herself to Yi Yunji. Because Yi Yunji had the aura of the shrine, when Yunjioge controlled her to leave, those white threads didn't have any reaction. At this moment, Goddess Mountain was already occupied by endless gray threads. It took Yunjioge some time to leave. When she left Goddess Mountain and walked outside, she was stunned by everything in front of her. Chapter 479. Yunjioge looked around in shock, only to see 10 miles of withered yellow land without a single blade of grass growing. The brown soil was exposed. It was like a completely different world from before. What had Yuling done? Yunjioge felt very uneasy and decided to find someone to ask. He flew toward the Black Orchid Valley. The most eye-catching building of ice and stone in the valley had already been leveled to the ground. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge bonfire made of peach wood branches. Above the bonfire were numerous Miao people whose bodies were half petrified. They piled up in layers, their eyes filled with despair and fear. "Sister, I don't want to die, please don't burn me." At the top of the pile was Wuxia. Her lower body was already petrified, and her upper body was tied up with ropes. She kept begging Black Orchid to let her go. "Sister, I'm sorry." The once high-spirited Black Orchid's eyes were now red and her face was green. She looked ragged and tired. She stood in front of the bonfire with a torch in her hand and said to Wuxia in pain, "The curse has begun to spread. The ice stone can no longer suppress the curse. If I don't burn you to death, the curse will only get worse. Sister, please don't hate me. I have no choice." Black Orchid cried as she said this, then ruthlessly threw the torch towards the fire. Just as the torch was about to fall, a stone flew out of nowhere and extinguished the fire in an instant. "Who is it?" Wulan turned her head and saw a familiar and ugly corpse standing not far away. "Big brother Yi Yu, he must have come back to save us," Wuxia shouted while struggling. When she had brought people into the ice stone building and found that Yi Yu had left with the corpses, she had guessed that he had removed the curse. After all, he was the only person that could stop the curse from spreading. "Yi Yu, have you come to save us?" Black Orchid looked around in despair. She now deeply regretted not giving the blood tears to Yunjioge. Now that the treasure was gone, her sister and her followers could not be saved. If she was given another chance, she would not hesitate to give up the treasure. Yunjioge said nothing. She only gestured for Black Orchid to follow her. Black Orchid followed without hesitation. Yunjioge brought Wulan to a secluded and remote place before transmitting to her, "I am Yunjioge. Miss Yun, how could you possess a corpse?" Wuxia was shocked. She remembered that Yunjioge was only at the foundation establishment stage. Forcefully possessing someone else would be very harmful to his soul. "I don't have time to explain things to you. Tell me, what happened to Goddess Mountain?" How could so many of your cultivators be petrified? Yunjioge only had 2 hours. He had to return before Zishang and Yuling found out. The devouring power around Goddess Mountain suddenly erupted. Not only did it suck dry the spirit veins of the mountains and rivers nearby, it even snuck into our valley and devoured the cultivation of many cultivators. Black Orchid's mood was incredibly heavy. The Goddess Mountain's divine temple had been established for a long time, but it had always been extremely obedient. She didn't think that it would be so terrifying when it erupted, simply as terrifying as a plague. Is the situation serious? Yunjioge's heart tightened. I don't know what to say. Miss Yun, take a look for yourself. Black Orchid called Great Shan over. Yunjioge followed the Black Orchid and flew out of the valley towards the place where the normal Miao people gathered. Along the way, all kinds of wild beasts were running towards the depths of the forest as if they were escaping from some disaster. The small river, which used to be filled with gurgling sounds, had mostly dried up, revealing the grayish-yellow riverbed. The poor Miao people knelt by the riverside with looks of despair on their faces, praying for the river to flow again. Miss Yun, we're not the only cultivators in the 100,000 mountains. There are also many normal people. That woman in the divine temple devoured the spirit veins and stole resources. If this continues, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering, and corpses will be everywhere. I beg you to help me get rid of her. Black Orchid suddenly knelt down and bowed deeply to Yunjioge. Yunjioge released a gentle force to support her knees and said, if you really have the heart, then help these living beings. I'll think of a way to deal with the divine temple. With that, she jumped off Great Shun's back and flew back to the divine temple. After Yunjioge placed Yi Yunji in Yi Yu's house, her soul returned to her body. Are you crazy? You actually split your soul to go out and play? If your soul is destroyed, you'll be an idiot for the rest of your life. Zishang looked at Yunjioge furiously. Seeing that Yunjioge wasn't moving in the water, he thought that something had happened to her. He didn't expect her to split her soul and go out. Yunjioge didn't say anything and only looked at him coldly. What's wrong? Zishang sensed that something was wrong. You know what Yuling did, right? The outside world was already in chaos, and she didn't believe that Zishang didn't know anything. What did Yuling do? Didn't she just make a medicinal bath for you? Zishang turned his head slightly and avoided Yunjioge's gaze. She used other people's lives to help me make a medicinal bath, and you say that's all? Yunjioge angrily slammed her palm on the water, and the dark red medicinal liquid splashed onto Zishang's handsome face. You didn't ask her to do it. Even if the Tao of Heaven blames her, it won't be on you. Zishang was expressionless. Cultivators fought against the heavens, and it didn't matter what method they used, as long as it worked. Yunjioge knew that Zishang was a bit cold towards the people of the world, but she didn't expect him to be this cold. She angrily stood up from the water, put on her robe, and walked out. Where are you going? Zishang pulled Yunjioge back. I'm going to find Yuling and ask her. Flames danced in Yunjioge's eyes, ready to shoot out at any moment. Once upon a time, the spirit race was loved for their kindness and generosity. Now, Yuling was scarier than a demon. This wasn't someone she knew. She cares about you. If you go looking for her like this, won't you hurt her too much? Zishang didn't want Yunjioge and Yuling to fight. I don't know what happened to make you all so cold and cruel, but don't say that you're doing it for my good. I don't want you to disgust me. Yunjioge stared at Zishang and said word by word. Zishang's heart shook, and he didn't dare stop her. He could only watch as Yunjioge left the hall. When Yunjioge found Yuling, she was making a spiritual liquid in the alchemy room. The walls of the alchemy room were filled with thick, transparent tubes that were filled with the spiritual power of the mountains. This spiritual power was the foundation of all things. Only the spirit race, who had mastered spiritual power, could extract it. "Mister, why are you here?" Yu Ling put down the spirit bottle in her hand and looked at Yun Jioge with surprise. "Congratulations, mister. Your cultivation has increased again." Yun Jioge realized that after soaking in the medicinal bath, he had reached the middle stage of the golden core stage. This kind of speed was shocking. Chapter 480. The legends say that the power of mountains is the best way to increase cultivation. It is true. Yu Ling looked at Yun Jioge with satisfaction. She was glad she was a spirit race. This way, she could help Master quickly increase cultivation. No one else could do this, not even the so-called strongest Emperor Zishang. "Who did you hear this from?" Yun Jioge asked. That person had clearly misled Yu Ling. Yu Ling froze. She frowned and thought for a moment. In the end, she shook her head. "I don't remember. I think I heard someone talk about it when I was in the God Palace, but I don't remember who it was." She had turned into a soul. Other than her loyalty to Yun Jioge, many things had disappeared with time. Yun Jioge felt sad. She guessed it was the person pretending to be Li Wei who had misled Yu Ling. Though Yu Ling had done this because she had been tricked, Yun Jioge could not forgive her. "Take these things apart." Yun Jioge pointed at the tubes that were sucking out the power of mountains. "Why?" Yu Ling refused. She had spent a lot of effort to make these tubes. It would be difficult to make another set. "Yu Ling, do you think you are helping me? You are harming me." Yun Jioge's eyes were filled with anger. "What is it? Is there a problem with the medicinal bath?" "Impossible. These are prescriptions I have carefully designed. They should be good for your body." Yu Ling was very confident in her prescriptions. "Good for my body, but what about my heart?" Yun Jioge looked at Yu Ling and said, "You have been with me for hundreds of years. You should know what kind of person I am. If I used the power of mountains to increase my cultivation, would the spirit race still exist?" When Yun Jioge's mother was pregnant, she suddenly discovered that her daughter had the unique phoenix body. She suddenly had the idea to raise this child into a goddess. Not only did she spend all the resources that the God Palace had accumulated for thousands of years, but she also captured the children of the spirit race and threatened them to suck out the mountain spirit energy. The spirit race was almost destroyed because of this. It wasn't until Yun Jioge grew up that he gave the order to seal off the mountains and return the divine power to the mountains that had suffered. Only then did the spirit race recover. The spirit race has suffered in the past. Why must you inflict the suffering on others? Yun Jioge barked. "Sir, I just..." Yu Ling's ruddy face turned ashen and her lips trembled. She wanted to explain but was interrupted by Yun Jioge. "I know you are doing this for my own good, but this is not what I want. Destroy the tube and restore the power of the mountains and rivers." "No." Yu Ling gritted her teeth and stubbornly said, "I am the one who absorbed the power of the mountains and rivers. Even if there is a divine punishment, it will only fall on me. As long as you are well, Ling has no regrets." An obsession was an obsession because it could not be removed. Even Yu Ling herself could not remove it. Yun Jioge finally gave up on trying to reason with Yu Ling. Yu Ling, who used to be magnanimous and reasonable, was already dead. What was left was only her devil-like obsession. Since there was no way to convince him, he could only use forceful methods. "Ling, from the moment you chose to kill yourself, you have given up the right to follow me. Go where you belong." Yun Jioge's hand emitted a golden god fire. The holy light covered the entire place. The faint golden light contained a terrifying and dangerous power. The grand and majestic god temple turned to dust, revealing the curse's instinct to devour. Yuling Er's body floated in the air. Her gray eyes looked painfully at Yunjioge and said, "Sir, do you want to kill me?" "It is not that I want to kill you. You have already killed yourself." Yunjioge sighed and flicked his finger. The golden god fire flew towards Yuling Er. "No, I don't want to die." Yuling Er's hair stood up. Gray death marks snaked down from her forehead to her entire body. The wild curse's devouring power surged. The entire goddess mountain was shaking. Endless gray threads blocked Yunjioge's god fire in the air. The golden light gradually dimmed. Yunjioge's expression did not change. He kept sending spirit power into the god fire. Seeing the horrifying Ling Er in her darkened state, she was even more determined to destroy her at all costs. Otherwise, before the catastrophe arrived, Yuling Er would have pierced through the azure-tide continent. "Sir." Yuling Er also felt Yunjioge's murderous intent. She had sacrificed everything for Master, abandoning her life and her clansmen, only to receive Master's merciless killing intent. She was not willing. Yuling Er's resentment was getting heavier and heavier. The grayish-white threads started to turn black, as if they were dyed by ink. They even darkened the sky of Goddess Mountain. The billowing resentment condensed into black clouds in the sky. Countless lonely souls and wild ghosts were trembling and howling in the clouds. It was as if a catastrophe was coming to the entire 100,000 mountains. The ordinary Miao people thought that the deity was enraged and was going to bestow punishment, and all of them prostrated on the ground trembling. The flying insects, birds, and beasts flew around in panic, but they couldn't find any safe place at all. Black Orchid was standing guard by the fire. Although she had Yunjioge's guarantee, she did not dare to release her cursed clansman and sister. When she saw the resentment clouds on top of Goddess Mountain, an expression of extreme fear appeared on her face. Although she wanted Yunjioge to deal with the demoness, it was definitely not a situation where both sides would suffer. Otherwise, even if Yunjioge could kill the demoness, 100,000 mountains would be destroyed, and they wouldn't be able to survive. As the wind and clouds changed color, Yunjioge floated in the sky, her clothes fluttering in the wind. Although the divine fire on her fingertip was weak, there was no sign of it being extinguished. She kept advancing towards Yuling Er. Yunjioge knew that Yuling Er was very wronged, very sad, and very angry. But other than destroying it, she had no other way to resolve it. At this moment, a purple spear whistled through the clouds. Everywhere it passed, the grayish-black threads were all shattered. Yuling Er raised her hand, and a huge black hand grabbed at the spear. The two collided with each other, creating a loud bang. A huge shockwave rippled out, setting off monstrous waves. Yunjioge was blown away by the huge waves and involuntarily flew into the distance. Finally, she fell into a gentle but firm embrace. "Zishang, why are you here?" Yunjioge looked in shock at Zishang standing behind her. Hadn't this guy been hiding from Yuling Er? "Zishang, you've finally shown yourself." Yuling Er's eyes were full of hatred. "I didn't want to disturb your reunion with Jioge, but now you've gone too far," Zishang said calmly. "I've gone too far?" Yuling Er laughed coldly. "When Master reincarnated, you were the first to steal the reincarnation stone, and then you destroyed the rest, making it so that no one else could pass. Do you know how despicable and shameless you are?" Chapter 481. Yes, I am despicable. If it was you, you wouldn't be any better. Zishang had to admit that he was such a shameless demon. When Yunjioge had reincarnated, the God Palace had prepared 10 reincarnation stones. He had rushed in first to take the stone and then destroyed the other 9. He wanted to take Yunjioge while he was reincarnating. He was very happy that he had done it. My loyalty to Master can be seen by the sun and the moon. A despicable person like you can't compare. Yu Ling shouted. Your loyalty is to fight against Lady Goddess. You've really broadened my horizons. Zishang laughed coldly and said proudly, no matter how despicable I am, at least I always listen to her. You, on the other hand, dared to attack the goddess. If this was the god palace, you would have been skinned and your tendons pulled out. I did not. Yu Ling screamed. Her resentment exploded and dyed the gray threads of the curse black. Stop talking. Yunjioge couldn't help but pull Zishang. She finally knew why Zishang hadn't come out before. He was a disaster. As soon as he came out, he made Yu Ling go crazy. Don't worry. I know what I am doing. Zishang patted Yunjioge's hand and then said to Yu Ling, you say you are loyal to Master, but you can't even give her what she wants. What right do you have to stand next to her? The most important thing to Master is the Sun of Life. Can you afford it? Yu Ling said with disdain. If you could, you wouldn't be like this. You are wrong. I have already given her the Sun of Life, Zishang said shamelessly. Zishang boasted shamelessly. Not only was Yu Ling shocked, but even Yunjioge was shocked. Sun of Life? What the hell was that? Was it the egg in her stomach? Impossible. Yu Ling denied it. Back then, Yunjioge had been obsessed with the Sun of Life. All the elite men of the races had filled up the harem. Yunjioge's status was so high that he couldn't pamper them all. Yu Ling had taken people to test them and used their life essence to cultivate. But she had never succeeded. That's right. When did I get pregnant? Why didn't I know about it? Yunjioge could not help but send a voice transmission to Zishang. No one knows what the Sun of Life looks like. All they know is that it will crawl out of your stomach. If you say the egg in your stomach is the Sun of Life, no one will doubt it, Zishang replied firmly. You want me to lie to her? Yunjioge was enlightened. Do you have a better idea? Zishang asked. All right. Yunjioge made up his mind. She did not want to fight with Yu Ling. It would be best if they could settle this peacefully. When he thought of this, Yunjioge decided to join forces with Zishang to lie. She touched her flat belly and said to Yu Ling, yes, I am pregnant. I don't believe it. Yu Ling widened her eyes. You can take a look if you don't believe me. Yunjioge bit the bullet and said. Yu Ling stared at Yunjioge's abdomen. She saw a small white egg inside. Under her body was the soft red carpet made from her tears of blood. Is this the Sun of Life? Yu Ling looked at the white egg. She looked like she was crying and laughing at the same time. She had tried so hard to help Yunjioge achieve something she could not. Zishang had easily succeeded. Everything she had done was so laughable. What obsession! What protection! It had all become a joke. Yu Ling you should know about the goddess's divination. As long as she is pregnant with the Sun of Life, she will be able to save the world. Now that the goddess has gotten what she wanted, you are stopping her. You are not helping her, you are harming her. Zishang continued to press on. Every word he said hit Yu Ling's heart. So, this is all my fault? Yu Ling's body flickered between white and black. Yunjioge could not help but feel nervous. Whether or not she could succeed depended on this moment. If Yu Ling continued to be evil, they would have to fight to the death. That was not something she wanted to see. Just then, Zishang added, Yu Ling, I know you want to stay and protect the goddess. There is a way to make up for your mistake. What is it? Yu Ling looked at Zishang. I heard that the spirit race has a secret technique that can transform spirits into protective threads. Zishang said calmly. Zishang. Yunjioge interrupted Zishang. He was going to turn Yu Linger into dust and scatter her soul. Okay. Yu Linger nodded and smiled sadly at Yunjioge. Sir, I was wrong this time. Please do not be angry. Linger, you can still reincarnate. Come find me again. Yunjioge did not want to see Yu Linger disappear forever. If I reincarnate again, I will not be Yu Linger. Sir, let me accompany you for the rest of your days. Yu Linger smiled and closed her eyes. Her body began to dissipate, turning into specks of starlight. They all merged into the curse and the devouring threads. Finally, they condensed into a pale gold thread like moonlight that fell onto Yunjioge. The resentful clouds dissipated. Golden sunlight pierced through the clouds and illuminated the entire 100,000 mountains. The statues of the 5 poison sect fell to the ground, revealing the people with blank faces. Chun Sanyang found her ball of thread lying on the ground. She still did not understand the situation. Wulan found the lime on her sister's body falling off and quickly helped her down from the fire. Spirit power returned to the mountains and rivers. The river surged again. The Miao people cheered. The fish, insects, birds, and beasts also shouted happily. Yunjioge looked at the pale gold thread wrapped around her hand with a complicated expression. This is the sky-level spirit thread condensed from Yu Linger's soul power. After you put it in your dantian, it will be of great benefit to your cultivation, Zishang said softly. Didn't you think of all this a long time ago? Yunjioge looked up at Zishang. This is the best ending for her. Zishang did not deny that after he found out Yu Linger had become a spirit, he had been thinking of turning her into a sky-level spirit thread. Despicable. Yunjioge scolded fiercely. She could not feel any hatred. After all, everything Zishang did was for her. Thank you for the compliment. Zishang did not hide his despicable and dirty heart. As long as he could make Yunjioge stronger, no matter how despicable he was, it would not be too much. Yunjioge was too lazy to talk to him. She put the moon spirit thread back into her dantian and turned to look at the collapsed temple. She saw Yi Yunji helping Yi Yu climb out. Young miss, what happened? Yi Yu climbed out of the ashes and looked around with a dazed expression. He was shocked to find that he was already at the middle stage of foundation establishment. He only remembered that after he left the valley with the Yin corpses, he was caught in a grey net and dragged away. He did not remember anything after that. Chapter 482. The Divine Temple is gone. Yunjioge said. Divine Temple? This is the Divine Temple? Yi Yu was even more shocked. How did young mistress kill that nascent soul realm cultivator without his knowledge? This was too awesome. Let's save Juni Chen and Luo Tian first. Yunjioge was not in the mood to explain. Oh, okay. Yi Yu called Yi Yunji over. As he was about to rescue them, he saw Little Ming and Little Red fly out with their respective masters and land in front of Yunjioge. Young mistress, why are you here? Luo Tian was shocked. What happened? How did I become a Golden Core Realm cultivator? Juni Chen was even more shocked. It's a long story. I'll tell you when I have the chance. First, clean up this place and take over 5 poison sect. 10,000 mountains will be yours in the future. 5 poison sect was not a good thing. If they didn't want to steal Yu Linger's blood and tears, they wouldn't end up like this. Yes. Luo Tian nodded without hesitation. He hadn't received a mission from Yunjioge for a long time. Not to mention taking over 5 poison sect, he would even agree to take over Yin Corpse sect. What, are you in a hurry to leave? Juni Chen noticed the farewell in Yunjioge's words. Yes. Yunjioga nodded. Little Ming and Little Red flew to her feet and were reluctant to leave. Follow your master. Yunjioga patted their heads and fed them 3 cherry pills. Young mistress, where are you going? Luo Tian asked. I'm going to the chaotic secret realm under the divine temple to do something. Yunjioga briefly mentioned the secret realm. She had spent too much time here. She had to enter the secret realm to find Li Wei and Cho Sr. We'll go with you, Yi Yu said quickly. No need. You have your own mission. Just guard 10,000 mountains. There must be a reason why the Divine Temple chose to set up camp here. Yu Ling'er had disappeared, but Yunjioga believed it was not over yet. The person who impersonated Li Wei must have something up his sleeves. She could not take care of it alone. She had to have someone she could trust. Eldest miss, don't worry. We will definitely defend the Myriad Mountains. Hearing Yunjioga's words, Luo Tian and the other 2 felt as though a heavy burden had been placed on their shoulders. We're leaving. Yunjioga bade them farewell in a straightforward manner before he led Zishang down the Divine Temple. Although the top had collapsed into a large area, the bottom was undamaged, and the dark passageway's death qi was even more intense. Are we really going? Zishang was still thinking about Yu Ling'er's prophecy that Yunjioga would die in the primal chaos mystic realm. The scion of life was fake. What if something really happened? Of course. Yunjioga nodded. Then, he directed the moon spirit threads to fly into the depths of the phantom. The moon spirit thread spread out and devoured the space, quickly revealing a round black hole. Let's go. Yunjioga led Zishang into the black hole. After a moment of spatial distortion, Yunjioga and Zishang fell to the ground one after another. How did you become so heavy? Yunjioga was heavily pressed down by Deceased sword. He was nearly flattened into a meat patty. She pushed Zishang away and stood up. She smelled the heavy smell of death. The sky was dark, and the sun looked like it was covered by a black cloth bag. It struggled to let out a little light. The black ground looked like it had been scorched by fire. Wisps of black gas floated in the air. It looked like the end of the world. Oh my God! Yunjioga was extremely shocked. Although she had already expected that this mystic realm would be terrible when she was under the Divine Temple, she did not expect it to be this bad. At this time, Zishang brought her a piece of bad news: I can't use my demonic power anymore. Are you joking? Yunjioga turned to look at Zishang. His expression was serious. He did not look like he was joking at all. Try and see if you can still use your spiritual power. Zishang asked. Yunjioga tried to use the spiritual power in her body, but she found that her energy center was like dead. She could not use any spiritual power at all. She quickly reached out. Faint golden light floated out, and the moon spirit threads emerged from her fingers. Good thing I can still use God power. Yunjioga sighed in relief. Otherwise, it would be really dangerous to not be able to use any power in this godforsaken place. Let Dummy out. Let him carry us out of here first. Zishang did not look worried. Although he could not use his demon power, the strongest part of the demon race was his physical body. He could still crush all kinds of monsters if he returned to his original form. Okay. Yunjioga used her god power to open the spirit beast pouch and let Dummy out. Ow ow ow. Dummy howled crazily as soon as it came out. It was still struggling with the devouring white threads. Dummy, calm down. It's fine now. Yunjioga was about to comfort Dummy, but she saw its furry face suddenly become dull. It circled in the air blankly, then suddenly flew toward the east. Where are you going? Come back. Yunjioga quickly used her god power to shoot out the moon spirit threads to tie Dummy back. Ow ow ow. Let go of me. I want to go home. I want to go home. Dummy's consciousness surged into Yunjioga's mind, causing her ears to buzz. Wait, what did you say? Go home? Yunjioga shook her head and asked Dummy directly. This is the Chaos Mystic Realm, not the 100,000 mountains. Why are you going home? Go home, go home. Dummy kept shouting this over and over again, and it was struggling more and more intensely. Yunjioga relied on her god power to use the moon spirit threads now. It wasn't worth it to continue wasting time with Dummy. She had no choice but to discuss with Zishang, should we go with it? Go. They were unfamiliar with this mystic realm anyway, so it didn't matter where they went. Dummy, you can go home, but you have to carry us. Yunjioga finished speaking and stuffed 2 cherry pills into Dummy's mouth. Ow ow ow, Master has to go with me. Dummy ate the cherry pill and immediately remembered that Yunjioga was its master. Then let's go. Yunjioga let go of the moon spirit threads that were binding Dummy and sat on Dummy's back with Zishang. Dummy immediately spread its wings and flew toward the east like an arrow released from a bow. Along the way, the ground was dry and cracked like it was covered with scars. There was no green at all and no animals. It was all a dead land. Yunjioga couldn't help but think of Goddess Mountain. If Yuling continued to extract the power of the mountains and rivers, the 100,000 mountains would probably become like this mystic realm, a land of death everywhere. When you sealed it, was this place like this? Zishang suddenly asked. I don't know. I was in a hurry to reincarnate and sealed the revelation of catastrophe in this mystic realm. I didn't pay attention to anything else. Yunjioga's soul had already left her body. If she didn't reincarnate, it would be too late. She didn't have the mood to pay attention to the situation in this mystic realm. Chapter 483. At that time, Yunjioga thought that after she reincarnated, she could contact the people of the God Palace through Li Wei and ascend to the position of goddess again. With the power of the Divine Palace, any secret realm would be a small problem. Unfortunately, the world is unpredictable. She took a wrong path in her reincarnation. When she came back, Li Wei was gone. All her plans changed. I'm afraid this arcane realm wasn't born like this. It's a land of death that was formed later on. Keep your divine power safe and don't use it unless it's absolutely necessary. Zishang had a feeling that this arcane realm was not as simple as it seemed. Okay, I got it. Yunjioga also discovered that although her divine power could be used in this mystic realm, it consumed a lot of energy and took a long time to recover. Just binding Dummy just now had used up 1% of its divine power, and it still hadn't started to recover. You don't have to worry too much. Although I can't use my demon power, I can still protect you. Zishang then told her about his demon body. I've known for a long time. Yunjioga dual cultivated with Zishang every single day, so how could he not know the condition of Zishang's body? Although she hadn't seen Zishang's true form, she was sure that he was very powerful. Therefore, she wasn't too worried about her safety. She was worried about something else. Cho-sen and the others shouldn't be able to use their spiritual power in the mystic realm. I wonder how they're doing now. Although the 3 of them had abandoned her, Yunjioga was still worried about their safety. To be exact, he was worried about the 2 goo worms, Xiaoying and Xiao Tao. She had already decided that if she saw Nangong Li and Bailey Moyun, she would retrieve her goo worms and beat them up before severing all ties. Since they dared to abandon you and enter the pocket dimension, they must have something up their sleeves. You don't have to worry about this. I believe that Nangong Yu will be able to solve this problem very well. As Zishang spoke of Nangong Yu, a cold light flashed across his face. That woman must have some sort of secret. Just as the 2 of them were chatting, Dummy finally flew away from the land of death and came to a sparse grassland. The grassland that should have been lush and verdant was now mottled as if it was suffering from diarrhea. There was very little yellow-green grass, and most of the land was brown and dry. Occasionally, there would be a few puddles, but not a single river or stream could be seen. "Dummy, where is your home?" Yunjioge could not help but ask. After flying for 2 hours, no matter how fat it was, its stamina was still limited. "Oh." Dummy responded weakly, but he didn't say where his home was. Yunjioge suspected that Dummy's brain had gone haywire to create a virtual home, so he coaxed it, "Dummy, you must be tired after flying for so long. Why don't we take a break?" "Ow." Dummy refused. "I still have a lot of cherry pills and spirit water here. You'll only have the strength to continue flying after you eat them," Yunjioge said to Dummy in a tone that sounded like he was bluffing a child. Dummy hesitated for a moment, but soon let out an unwavering howl, then sped up and continued flying forward. Why is Dummy so persistent? Could it really be that its home is here? Yunjioge was convinced. Dummy had always been a foodie. To be able to firmly resist the temptation of delicious food, there had to be something more important than food or survival. "Can you see the ball of gas in Dummy's head now?" Zishang suddenly asked. "Sure." Yunjioge gathered his divine power between his eyebrows and opened his spirit eye to look at Dummy's head. The strange energy that was originally mixed with gold and ash changed its appearance. The golden light expanded and blocked out all the gray light. However, the gray light was very persistent and stuck to the surroundings. There was no way to get rid of it. Yunjioge told Zishang what he had seen. Zishang nodded and said, "That's right. Dummy should be a native of this Arcana land." For some reason, he ran to the 100,000 mountains. He had a lot of spiritual power outside, so his power was suppressed. He only recovered after returning here. So, as long as we find his family, we'll be able to understand the situation in the Arcana land? To them, this was like a timely rain. Yunjioge's spirits were lifted. Dummy's appearance by his side must have been preordained by fate. Yes, but before that, let's let him rest first. Otherwise, he'll die of exhaustion before he can find his home. Zishang looked at Dummy's red face and felt like it was going to stop breathing at any moment. "Dummy, I'm not feeling well. Quickly put me down to rest." Yunjioge changed his strategy. He pressed down on Dummy's head and used his spirit mark to suppress it. After signing a master-servant contract, a spiritual beast must prioritize its master's safety. Dummy had no way of disobeying this iron law. He could only find a hill to land on unwillingly. This hill was not very tall. There was a lot of greenery. There were trees scattered around it, but the bark and leaves were dark red. "Feed it." Yunjioge took out the cherry pill and spirit water from her storage bag and handed them to Zishang. "Me?" Zishang frowned. He had never raised a spiritual beast before, and he did not like it. "I still need to organize the storage bag." Every time she opened the storage bag, she needed divine power. It was too wasteful. She had to organize some of the commonly used items. "All right." Zishang took the pill and spirit water and began to feed Dummy reluctantly. Dummy did not resist. Instead, it ate quickly. It seemed like it wanted to leave as soon as possible. "Pill, food, water." Yunjioge muttered as she took out the items she needed. Although golden core cultivators could not eat, they could not use their demonic power and spiritual power. It was better to take out some as backup. After preparing the necessities for survival, Yunjioge took out the evil sword. The last time she saved Een Shirley, the evil sword had been devoured by Bai Si. It was now a piece of scrap metal. However, the material of the evil sword was very good. It was still extremely sharp. It could be considered a divine weapon among ordinary iron. It should be useful to keep it. Ow ow ow. After Dummy quickly finished the cherry pill and spirit water, it shouted at Yunjioga. Are you ready? Let's go. Wait a little longer. Yunjioga was considering whether to release Feifei and the treasure-seeking scorpion from the spiritual beast bag. Ow ow ow. Hurry, 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 Dummy began to urge her. After returning to this mystic realm, its ability to express itself had improved a lot. Yunjioga's ears were starting to suffer. Alright, alright. Let's go now. Yunjioga decided not to release the spiritual beasts. One dummy was noisy enough. Adding Feifei would definitely make her ears explode. Yunjioga carried the bag and was about to climb onto Dummy's back. Zishang suddenly hugged her and rolled to the side. Then, a black arrow whistled through the air toward Dummy. Chapter 484. Dummy instinctively opened its mouth and spat out a flame to knock the arrow away. Then, it looked around in anger. Who is it? Yunjioga stood up and realized there were many people lying in ambush around the hill. No, to be exact, they weren't just humans. These people only had a piece of animal skin around their waists. Their naked bodies were the same brown as the earth. It was hard to tell where they were when they lay on the ground. They looked like humans, but the thick tail behind them looked like lizards. Were they demons? Yunjioga asked Zishang with his eyes. Zishang shook his head and said silently, beast men. Beast men and demons were two different things. Beast men mainly had beast instincts. They would have beast marks on their bodies and acted like wild beasts. Demons, on the other hand, could cultivate inner cores. They had the possibility of becoming demon immortals. They were much more advanced than beast men. Lady, don't be afraid. We'll save you after we kill this damned birdman. A clear voice came from the tree. It wasn't the common language of the Zhanglan continent. It was a very stiff and strange language. Fortunately, Yunjioga activated his talent of the spirit of speech after putting away the demonic cauldron. He could naturally understand them. Yunjioga looked in the direction of the voice and found a leopard youth on a big tree in the distance. It had fluffy brown hair, round ears, deep facial features, wheat-colored skin, and faint golden spots on its face and body. It wore a piece of cloth around its waist and had a long tail behind it. Wait, are you misunderstanding something? This is my spirit beast mount, not some birdman, Yunjioga said loudly. Your mount? The leopard youth stilled and then shouted, you must have been tricked by it. It's not a mount. It's the prince of the eagle race, Ling Fei. Lady, among the beast men, only Ling Fei can completely transform. He's also very fat. You should have heard of this rumor. A lizard youth stood up from the ground. He looked no different from a human. Other than his ears that were open like umbrellas, his facial features were very handsome. He wasn't inferior to the leopard youth. The avians don't have any females, so they go around snatching women from other races back to Eagle Cliff. When they lay eggs, they eat them. They are the cruelest and most vicious race in the world. The young panther shouted angrily. That's right, young lady, you mustn't be fooled by him, the lizard man chimed in. Dummy, you're so bad. Yunjioga couldn't help but pat Dummy's fat head. Oh whoa, let's go home. Dummy didn't even look at the two orcs. It was focused on delivering the message to Yunjioga. Go home with Dummy first, Zishang said to Yunjioga telepathically. These beast men aren't good people either. Why do you say that? Yunjioga asked curiously. She felt that these beast men were quite nice. At least they were willing to save her, a woman they had never met before. Look at their eyes carefully. They are full of hunger and greed. It is probably one of their traditions to bring women back to lay eggs and eat them, Shang said. Yunjioge then looked at the other lizard men lying on the ground. These lizard men were different from the two who had just spoken. They were rational and handsome. They looked more like wild beasts. Their bodies were thin and dry, which was the result of long-term starvation. They looked at Shang and Dummy with greed and desire in their eyes. It was as if they were looking at two big pieces of fat meat. However, none of these lizard men looked at Yunjioge. It was as if she already had a master and could not be offended. If Dummy is really the Eagle Prince, then you can be the master of the Eagle clan. I believe they will be more reliable than these orcs, Shang said. Alright, let's go back with Dummy first. Yunjioge made a decision in an instant. She then used her divine sense to send a telepathic message to Dummy. Dummy, let's go. Whoa. Dummy immediately spread its wings and flew into the sky. Shang carried Yunjioge and jumped onto its back the moment it flew. The whole process took only 2 breaths. The orcs surrounding them did not expect them to run away without saying anything. It was too late to shoot arrows. Damn it! The leopard youth was so angry that his tail bristled. If he had known earlier, he would have shot Ling Fei before it ran away and then taken the woman away. It's okay. They must have returned to Eagle Cliff. Let's go back and report to the goddess first. Then, we'll send people to guard the exit of Eagle Cliff. The lizard man was very calm and spoke in an orderly manner. But in that case, the credit will most likely be divided equally. The leopard youth's face was filled with unwillingness. If they could catch that beautiful woman, the reward would be enough for their 2 tribes to live for a long time. Dividing equally is better than losing our lives. You know the situation now. We can't go to Eagle Cliff. The lizard man sighed. It was worth it to be alive now. All right. The leopard youngster nodded unwillingly. The Arcana land was full of death aura. There were death swamps everywhere. Even the strongest warrior could not pass through safely. They could only rely on the divine power of the oracle. After the leopard youth and the lizard men finished discussing, they quickly retreated down the hill and left in the opposite direction of Yunjioge. At this time, Yunjioge and Shang had already arrived near Eagle Cliff on Dummy's back. Dummy didn't know if it was because it was too close to home, but it kept circling in place, unwilling to fly into the black cliff. Why don't we greet them first? Yunjioge asked. Sure. Shang nodded. Then, he took out a stone from somewhere and threw it at the black cliff. With a bang, a hole was smashed in the cliff. Hey, who smashed my nest? A thunderous voice sounded. 2 figures flew out from the originally silent black cliff and blocked Yunjioge and Shang from the front and back. Yunjioge looked at the 2 orcs in front of him, who were flapping their wings and holding spears. He felt that the leopard youth was right. They were indeed birdmen. It's a big beauty. The leader was a big man with a messy beard. The wings on his back were golden with blue patterns. When he saw Yunjioge, he immediately said in surprise, "This big beauty is mine." Wait. A fair-skinned birdman with long eyebrows and thin eyes, who looked more like a military counselor, pulled him back. He pointed hesitantly at Dummy at Yunjioge's feet and said, "Is this Dummy, His Highness Ling Fei? Prince Ling Fei?" Was stunned and carefully looked at Dummy. In the end, he said in shock, "It's really His Highness Ling Fei. His Highness is so awesome. After disappearing for so long, he could still kidnap a beautiful girl back." His words were full of admiration. Chapter 485. He decisively pulled Aze to the side and looked at Yunjioge vigilantly. I wonder which race this girl is from and where did you find His Highness? You don't need to know which race I am from. All you need to know is that I have signed a master-servant contract with His Highness. Yunjioge was testing their attitude towards Dummy. Impossible! Ah Zhe yelled. How could His Highness sign a master-servant contract with someone else? That's impossible. The military advisor wasn't as excited as Ah Zhe. He looked at His Highness and noticed that his eyes were dull. He was clearly not in a normal state. Lady, why don't we go into Eagle Cliff? The military advisor invited Yunjioge sincerely. Your prince doesn't seem to want to go in. Yunjioge patted Dummy's head and asked if he wanted to fly to Eagle Cliff. Dummy shook his head decisively and flew in the other direction. The military advisor and Ah Zhe immediately followed. Dummy flew to a wide cliff not far away, and then landed comfortably in a large round nest. The big nest was covered with a thick layer of smooth white stones. There was even yellow hay on top of it. It looked very comfortable. His Highness made this nest himself. He likes to sleep in it. Ah Zhe looked at Dummy, who was lying in the nest with his eyes closed. He was certain that this was their heartless prince. The military advisor looked at His Highness and smiled at Yunjioge. I'm Ah Jun, nicknamed military advisor. What's your name, lady? What's your name? My surname is Yun. This is my guard, Yi Zi. Yunjioge gave a simple introduction. Oh, so it's Lady Yun and brother Yi Zi. The military advisor nodded politely. Yun, do we have the Cloud tribe here? Ah Zhe looked Yunjioge up and down strangely and pointed at Zishang. This brother doesn't look like he's from the Yi tribe. Shut up. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. The military advisor glared at Ah Zhe. The tower-like Ah Zhe didn't dare make a sound. He shrank to the side and looked very stupid. Miss Yun, how did you find our Royal Highness and how did you sign a contract with him? The military advisor continued to ask. Before I answer that question, I'd like to ask you what's going on with your eagle tribe. I've bumped into a leopard tribe and a lizard tribe on my way here. They didn't seem to have a good impression of you. Yunjioge skillfully threw the question back at them. 2. It must be the little leopard and big ears. It's one thing for these two to betray our Gu Lai god and join that god messenger, but they dare to spread rumors about the eagle race. I must kill them. Zhe roared furiously. Ah Jun was rather calm. He explained to Yunjioge, you're talking about the leopard prince, Little Flower, and the lizard prince, Doll. They're not on good terms with us because of their differences in tribal development. Is that so? Why don't you tell me? Yunjioge smiled. It was obvious that if they didn't explain things clearly, they wouldn't be able to get Dummy's attitude from him. Actually, everyone in the orc race knows this. There's nothing to hide. The military advisor continued. There were 79 tribes in this chaotic secret realm. In the past, due to sufficient food, everyone lived peacefully without any conflicts. Until more than a decade ago, a black death chi rain suddenly appeared in the secret realm. Those who were drenched by the black rain would quickly lose their lives. Then, the mountains and rivers were polluted. The grasslands became dead. Large amounts of herbivores died. There was less and less food. The competition became more and more intense. Battles kept happening. Wait, tell me precisely, more than a decade ago? Yunjioge remembered that when Li Wei left the Thunder Nation, it was 18 years ago. I think it was 18 years ago. Is there a problem? The military advisor looked at Yunjioge suspiciously. No problem, you can continue. Yunjioge shook his head. At that time, Li Wei was probably being hunted by Cho Sen and the others. Did it have something to do with this black chi rain? Yes, because the eagle race can fly, we are better off than the other races. That's why they often come to us for help. However, our abilities are limited. Gradually, there were conflicts, and our relationship worsened. Although the military advisor said it simply, Yun Jioga knew that the conflict must have been very intense. However, she didn't care about that. She was more concerned about how Dummy got out of the secret realm. A month ago, a black whirlpool suddenly appeared in the sky. Prince Ling Fei flew into it when we weren't paying attention. In the end, he never returned. The whirlpool also disappeared. The military advisor couldn't help but sigh. At that time, the eagle race was worried sick. They couldn't find the prince anywhere. In the end, they spent a lot of money to find the best elder in the turtle tribe who was good at divination. The elder said that the prince was no longer in their world. They thought that the prince was dead. They didn't expect the prince to suddenly return. He even brought back 2 outsiders who didn't look like local orcs. A month ago was the time when Nangongyu brought Cho Sun and the others into the secret realm. That hole was probably a spatial crack left behind when they came in. Dummy, that idiot, was really bold. He actually dared to barge in like that. It would be lucky if he became an idiot. Yun Jioga helplessly looked at Dummy, who was squinting his eyes and lying comfortably on the nest. If he didn't meet her, this fatty would probably live the rest of his life in the outside world. Miss Yun, we're done talking. It's your turn, the military advisor said. You should have already noticed that we aren't from this secret realm. Actually, we came in from the 100,000 mountains outside. Your prince must have injured his brain when he passed through the barrier space. He has already regressed to the instincts of a beast. Yun Jioga tapped her temple. The tunnel that Dummy found was probably just a spatial crack. He was already very lucky that he only became an idiot after passing through it. Miss Yun, do you have a way to help our prince regain his consciousness? The military advisor asked nervously. The prince was very important to them. An idiot couldn't possibly survive in the chaos secret realm. I can only try, but I can't guarantee anything. Although Dummy was much better after returning to the chaos secret realm, Yun Jioga didn't dare to guarantee anything. Miss Yun, as long as you can save our prince, the eagle race is willing to be loyal to you, the military advisor said seriously. Hey, Jun, if Elder Bai hears this, he will definitely beat you to death, Zhe quickly yelled. The eagle race had been free for so many years and had never been loyal to anyone. Even in times of difficulty, they didn't yield. Now that they suddenly found a random master, wouldn't they become a joke to the other orcs? Chapter 486. I will only persuade Elder Bai. You don't have to worry about that. Advisor Jung glared at Zhe. The people in the primal chaos secret realm had all gone to that divine messenger. If they didn't find someone to rely on, they would be destroyed sooner or later. Since this woman could sign a master-servant contract with the prince, she definitely wasn't a simple character. They would seek refuge with her first. If that didn't work, it wouldn't be too late to betray them. Up to you. Elder Bai is your grandpa. He'll believe whatever you say. Zhe surrendered. Doesn't the Eagle clan have a clan leader? Yun Jioga could tell that Elder Bai was in charge of the Eagle clan. This was different from what she expected. The clan leader sacrificed himself to protect our people in the Black Rain 20 years ago. Elder Bai raised the prince, Advisor Jung said with a pained expression. I see. Then I'll have to properly greet this Elder Bai. Yun Jioga originally thought she could build a good relationship with the clan leader with Dummy's identity. Now that it was Elder Bai, she had to reconsider. If Elder Bai didn't want to say anything, she would just leave. Elder Bai also really wants to see you and the prince. Please come with me. Advisor Jung stood up and looked at Dummy. Dummy, go see your elder Bai. Yunjioga patted Dummy's head. Dummy reluctantly got up from its nest and carried Yunjioga and Zishang back to Eagle Cliff. There were birdmen of all sizes standing at Eagle Cliff. They were very happy to see their prince return. They all cried out in joy. A white-haired birdman stood in the cave and waved at them. That was probably Elder Bai. He was skinny and had dark skin. The wrinkles on his face looked like they were carved by knives, but his eyes were clear and shining with intelligence. His wings had turned snow-white. That was the color of an old man. Dummy automatically flew over to the birdman and studied him. His eyes flashed with familiarity and confusion. Your Highness, I warned you again and again not to go near that black hole. Why didn't you listen? Elder Bai reprimanded Dummy the moment he saw him. Roar, roar, roar. An angry expression appeared on Dummy's chubby face. Then, it jumped onto Elder Bai's nest and put on a look that said, a dead bird is not afraid of boiling water. You. Elder Bai pointed at Dummy's head in exasperation. I'll deal with you later. He then looked at Yunjioga. Elder Bai, this is Miss Yun and her bodyguard, Brother Yi Zi. Miss Yun has already signed a master-servant contract with His Highness Ling Fei. She will do her best to help us treat His Highness. Military counselor's simple words contained many meanings. Elder Bai understood immediately. He looked kindly at Yunjioga and smiled, Miss Yun, since you are His Highness Ling Fei's master, you are equivalent to the Cliff Master of Eagle Cliff. I welcome you on behalf of Eagle Cliff. Elder Bai is too polite. Yunjioga hadn't expected that he would be able to subdue Eagle Cliff's beastmen so easily. Miss Yun, since you have accepted the position of Cliff Master, please help us get out of this predicament. Elder Bai tearfully spoke of Eagle Cliff's difficulties. During the 20 years of the Black Rain, although the Eagle clan relied on their flying ability to obtain food more easily than the other clans, because they often flew in the sky, they came into contact with a lot of death aura. The lifespan of the Eagle clan was getting shorter and shorter. They used to live up to 100 years old, but now, they were at most 80 years old, and it was still decreasing. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that the Eagle clan's birth rate was getting worse. Even if they were born, they would be very weak. Many would die before they were 10 years old. Cliff Master, please help us think of a way. Otherwise, our Eagle clan will be destroyed. Elder Bai looked at Yunjioga with anticipation. I see. Yunjioga was relieved to hear Elder Bai's words. If the Eagle clan really treated her as their master without any grudge, she would probably be on tenterhooks. Now that she had a favor to ask, she felt more at ease. She said, take me to see the children first. Okay. Elder Bai quickly nodded and flew forward personally. What about His Highness Ling Fei? Zhe looked at Dummy, who was starting to fall asleep again in Elder Bai's nest. His Highness is plump and strong, so there won't be any problems in the short term. Let's wait until Miss Yun is free, in case he wakes up and comes looking for trouble again. Elder Bai only glanced at Dummy indifferently, looking as if it was good that Dummy was not dead. Zhe thought about it and couldn't help but nod. Elder Bai was right. His Highness had been full of energy since he was young and had caused countless troubles. It was best to let him rest for a while. Miss Yun, this is our nursery. The children inside are all problematic. Elder Bai brought Yunjioga to a large hole on the side of the cliff. There were 7 to 8 children around 5 or 6 years old lying inside. They were all sallow and emaciated. The feathers on their wings were sparse. They looked like little chickens that had the plague. Seeing Yunjioga walk forward, the little chicks all looked up at her and then drooped down weakly as though they didn't even have the strength to speak. Yunjioga walked in front of the youngest child. This child was about 4 years old. He was all skin and bones. His wings were pitifully small and drooped behind him like decoration. A pair of big blue eyes stared at Yunjioge. He was very cute. "Good child, what's your name?" Yunjioge asked softly. "Ah Shui, the birdman," Shui replied softly. "Ah Shui, can you show me your hand?" Yunjioge's voice became even softer. "N." Ah Shui obediently stretched out his slender arm. Yunjioge began to feel Ah Shui's pulse. Then, she carefully looked at all the children and frowned. There was indeed some dead air in these children's bodies, but the most serious was a trace of gray air. That strange gray air was very similar to the one in Dummy's brain. It filled the children's organs and inhibited their development. This gray air spread so evenly. It should be formed naturally. If it was the day after, it would have accumulated in a fixed place like Dummy. Speaking of congenital, it could only be brought out of the womb. "Miss Yun, do you see anything? Can we children still be saved?" Elder Bai stared at her and asked hopefully. "These children have some congenital deficiencies. It should be a problem brought out of the womb. Where are their parents? I have something to ask them." Yunjioge planned to investigate before telling the eagle people about the gray air. "Wait a moment." Elder Bai turned and ordered Ah Zhe, "Call Ah Hui over." "Yes." Ah Zhe immediately flapped his wings and left the cave, flying towards the other side of the cliff. Chapter 487. Ah Zhe quickly brought in a tall, skinny, gray-winged, middle-aged birdman. This birdman called Ah Hui was very skinny with protruding cheekbones and a long scar across the right side of his face. He looked very fierce. Ah Hui greets Elder Bai. Ah Hui seemed to be very respectful to Elder Bai. "Miss Yun, this is Ah Shui's father. Ask him if you have any questions." Elder Bai said. "Where's Ah Shui's mother?" Yunjioge realized that he hadn't seen a single female in all this time at Eagle Cliff. Was she really eaten after giving birth? She passed away in childbirth. Although Ah Hui's voice was cold, his eyes flashed with real pain. It could be seen that he still had feelings for his wife. "Sorry." Yunjioge lowered his voice and asked, "Then do you remember what your wife ate when she was pregnant with Ah Shui?" "Yes." Ah Hui nodded and said, "Her appetite was very bad and she didn't want to eat anything. I specially went to Blue Water Lake to find the freshest gaga grass for her. Later on, her appetite gradually improved. She ate mountain spiders, bamboo rats, long snakes with us. The number was as clear as ash." The more Yunjioge listened, the more speechless he became. These things didn't sound nutritious. How could a pregnant woman eat this every day? Ah Hui very sensitively noticed Yunjioge's thoughts and said with some anger, "This was the best I could find. Many pregnant females didn't eat as well as she did." That's right, Ah Hui was a hunter. It was winter then and food was very difficult. A few elders in our tribe almost starved to death. Elder Bai sighed. Their eagle tribe was the king of the sky, but they couldn't let their people survive the cold winter. What a shame. "Okay, can you show me the food?" Yunjioge corrected his wrong thoughts. This wasn't the rich 100,000 mountains but a barren land ravaged by death chi. Finding food here was probably harder than ascending to heaven. "We have stock in our warehouse. I'll show you." Elder Bai brought Yunjioge to the Eagle tribe's warehouse. The warehouse that was opened up in the cliff was very big and very cold. However, there was too little food, so it looked very empty. Last winter, the snow came very quickly. We almost couldn't make it because we weren't prepared enough. That's why we started preparing supplies early this year. These are the food specially prepared for pregnant women. Elder Bai opened a big wooden box. Inside, there were dried spiders, poisonous snakes, field mice, and other things. Yunjioga's face couldn't help but twitch. Could such a small amount of food fill his stomach? It seemed that the survival of the beast men was much more difficult than she had imagined. These are the food that our eagle tribe often eats. Also, this gaga grass is especially loved by pregnant women. It only grows in the Naga tribe's territory near Blue Water Lake. Every time we go there, we have to fight them to get it. Elder Bai took out a handful of sugarcane like black grass as if he was presenting a treasure. Yunjioga took it and smelled it. Then, he broke it off and tasted it. There was a hint of fishy smell in the sweetness. She opened her spirit eye and found that the gaga grass contained traces of gray gas, just like the ones in Shui and the others' bodies. It seemed that this was the reason why the children were so weak. You said that this gaga grass grows in Blue Water Lake. What kind of place is Blue Water Lake? Yunjioga asked as she put down the gaga grass. Blue Water Lake is the largest lake in the land of chaos. When the black rain comes, every tribe will send 10 warriors to protect Blue Water Lake. That's why the water there is the cleanest. Every tribe has its own territory in Blue Water Lake. However, the gaga grass only grows in the Naga tribe's territory, Elder Bai explained. I want to see the gaga grass. Yunjioga felt that something was wrong. This Blue Water Lake wasn't polluted by the death aura. How could the gaga grass grow the same gray gas as the one in Dummy's brain? Yunjioga felt that she had already found some clues. As long as she continued to investigate, she would find out the truth. You want to see the gaga grass? Elder Bai was a little surprised, but he quickly made a decision. Alright, but you'll have to wait for a while. The warriors are still out hunting and haven't returned yet. Tomorrow, I'll send 10 warriors to escort you there. There's no need. Dummy can send me there. The eagles that Yunjioga met today were all skinny and looked very weak. It was better to bring Dummy there. Miss Yun, the Naga tribe is not only strong, but they also have weapons from the god's messenger. No matter how strong the prince is, I'm afraid he won't be able to protect you too. It wasn't that Elder Bai looked down on Yunjioga and her guards, but he knew that outsiders couldn't use divine powers in this mystic realm. This was also the reason why he dared to lead the Eagle tribe to swear loyalty to Yunjioga. They could turn against her at any time without any pressure. God's messenger? Yunjioga couldn't help but look at Zishang. She remembered that she didn't send any god's messenger. Even Li Wei was only a reincarnated god guard. Zishang was also confused. However, he couldn't use his demon powers, so he couldn't secretly communicate with Yunjioga. He could only shake his head and signal that they would talk later. Is the god's messenger male or female? What does she do? Is there anything special about her? Yunjioga asked Elder Bai. The god's messenger is a beautiful young lady. She came to our chaotic mystic realm a month ago. Not only can she use divine power, but she also brought a lot of food, weapons, and equipment. As long as you're loyal to her, you'll receive help. Many tribes in our mystic realm have already submitted to her. The Naga tribe was the first tribe to submit to the god's messenger. They exchanged for a poisoned crossbow from the god's messenger. It's specifically used to deal with the Eagle tribe. We've suffered a lot from it, Elder Bai said. If this god's messenger is so good, then why did the Eagle tribe submit to her instead of me? Yunjioga didn't think that she had any kind of charm that could charm Elder Bai. There's no free lunch in this world. I don't believe them. If His Highness hadn't signed a contract with you, I wouldn't have believed you either. Elder Bai revealed a wise smile. The prince was now an idiot. Even if he was powerful, he was still easily bullied and humiliated. However, he ate well and trusted Yunjioga. He knew that he was living a good life. He believed that a person who was good to his stupid mount couldn't be that bad. Alright. Since the Naga tribe is so powerful, then I have to meet them. Don't worry, I have a way to deal with them. Yun Jioga guessed that this god's messenger was Nan Gongyu. Sure enough, this woman had come prepared. Yun Jioga wondered what kind of weapons she had provided the Naga race would look like. Chapter 488. Miss Yun, I can't agree. I can't watch you risk your life. Elder Bai wouldn't agree. Yun Jioga was the only hope of the eagle race. He was more important than his own life. Due to the unreliable dummy's demonstration, Yun Jioga became an impulsive and unreliable person in Elder Bai's mind. Elder Bai, I'm confident if I dare to go. To be honest, this guard of mine is also from the Naga race. I won't be in danger with him. Yun Jioga looked at Zi Shang. Now's your chance to shine. When this guy first appeared, he was pretending to be a snake. Don't be a coward. Brother Yi Zi is from the Naga race? Elder Bai didn't believe it. The Naga had scales on their faces and hands, and this man whose face could not be seen clearly was too clean. I'm from the black snake race. Zi Shang cooperated. Black scales grew on his cheeks and soon covered his entire body. The scales were so shiny that they looked like they were made of gemstones. They were dazzlingly beautiful, like the most beautiful artwork that would shatter with one touch. Zi Shang saw that Elder Bai's eyes were filled with suspicion, so he punched the wall. Rubble cracked and dust flew. A huge hole appeared in the wall. Do you believe me now? Zi Shang looked like he was going to punch a hole through if he didn't believe him. Elder Bai nodded. Yes, I believe you. Warrior Yi Zi is strong indeed. With you protecting Miss Yun, she'll be fine. Then let's go to Blue Water Lake now. By the way, does Dummy know the way? Yun Jioga asked. With Dummy's muddle-headed brain, he didn't want them to carry him into the ditch. I'll let Ah Zhe and Ah Jun go with you. They often go to Blue Water Lake and are the most experienced. These two were Elder Bai's most trusted subordinates. He usually didn't want to send them out. But this was a special situation. With them guarding Yun Jioga, he was more assured. Okay. Yun Jioga nodded and followed Elder Bai out of the storage room. He saw Dummy squatting at the door and staring at them in confusion. There were two red-skinned trees with a huge cowhide rope tied between them. Ah Zhe and Advisor Jun were introducing the environment of Eagle Cliff and the troublesome things he had done in the past. Your Highness, that's the slingshot you made. As long as you put a stone on it, it can fly very far. Back then, when the other tribes wanted to attack our Eagle Cliff, this thing helped a lot. Although Elder Bai scolds you all day long, he's actually very proud of you. The military counselor turned around and asked Elder Bai. Right. My ass. This brat causes trouble every day. If he could just stop a little, I could live for a few more years. Although Elder Bai's tone was harsh, his eyes were very kind. It was obvious that he loved Dummy very much. Ao. Bullshit, bullshit. Dummy started howling like a beast, but other than Yun, no. Yun, Elder Bai could not help but sigh when he saw Dummy like this. Yun, Xiao Mingt, Prince Yun, he Yun, Tu say, Yun, and Yun, he Miss Yun, please save His Highness, Elder Bai begged. Don't worry, Elder Bai. I'll do my best. Yun Jioga nodded. Dummy is my mount, but I've always treated him as one of my own. Even if he wakes up and wants to stay at Eagle Cliff, I'll let him go. Yun Jioga had always been very lenient with his spirit beasts. Miss Yun, you're such a good person. Elder Bai had been worried that Yunjioga wouldn't save him in order to restrain the prince. Hearing this, he realized he was being too petty. Good people don't live long. That's not a compliment. Yunjioga smiled and patted Dummy's head. Dummy, do you know how to get to Blue Water Lake? Ow. Blue Water Lake? Could it be eaten? Dummy tilted his head and looked at Yunjioga. There's a type of black, fragrant, and sweet grass there. It's planted in the territory of the Nagas, Yunjioga explained. Ow. I know where to find tasty grass. Dummy nodded immediately. Ah Zhe, Ah Jun, accompany Miss Yun and warrior Yi Zi to Blue Water Lake to find the Gaga grass. You must protect Miss Yun, Elder Bai ordered. Yes. Ah Zhe and Ah Jun didn't understand but nodded without hesitation. Then, Yunjioga and Zi Shang sat on Dummy's back and flew towards Eagle Cliff. Along the way, they encountered many returning eagles. They were all skinny, and the food they carried in their hands was very little. Don't you have any females here? Yunjioga couldn't help but ask. Why not? You really believe what Little Blossom and Big Ear said? Ah Zhe pointed at a few caves and said, we don't have females. We marry them from outside. They can't fly, so they can only stay in the caves. They rarely come out. Yunjioga followed Ah Zhe's gaze and saw a few females. One of them had a very long face. It was probably a horse. One had bull horns and was very tall. It was probably a bull. She even saw a girl from the rabbit tribe. She had long black hair, long soft ears, and red eyes. She was petite and cute. She was waiting at the entrance of the cave for her partner to return. A young eagle carried a large bundle of grass and carrots and flew towards her. They looked good. At least, they were much better than the eagles flying in the sky. Of course, our eagle race treats our females very well. Ah Gu saved that rabbit race chick from the swamp of death. He goes out every day to find food for his partner before starting to hunt, Ah Zhe said proudly. Looks like I misunderstood you before. Yunjioga was a little ashamed. He was definitely a good male to save food for his wife and children. It's fine. As long as the misunderstanding is cleared up. Miss Yun, you must find a partner like this in the future. Our prince is a little unreliable, but he's very capable. He can always find a lot of food. He's also the only orc in our secret realm that can completely transform. Even Elder Bai said he's a child favored by the gods. Ah Zhe kept promoting how brave and powerful his prince was. I believe that. Yunjioga stroked Dummy's messy hair. As a foodie, finding food was his instinct. Being her mount, wasn't that the same as being favored by the gods? Ow ow ow. Dummy seemed to know that everyone was praising him. He shouted a few times in high spirits and sped up. Chapter 489. Prince, wait, don't fly so fast. Ah Zhe and Ah Jun chased after Dummy with all their might, but they ended up eating its farts the whole way. By the time they reached Blue Water Lake, they were exhausted. This is Blue Water Lake? Yunjioga looked down from above and saw a beautiful blue lake embedded in the gray land. In the east, where the water was dense, a group of skinny elk was vigilantly drinking water by the side of the lake. In the shallow part of the lake, a human-shaped, snake-tailed orc was hiding in the water, trying to approach them. But these elk were extremely vigilant. When they realized something was wrong, they turned and ran. The Naga swam out of the water dejectedly, but it was impossible to chase them. Stupid Nagas, they only deserve to eat the small fish in the lake. They want to catch such big prey? Wishful thinking, Ah Zhe said with a look of disdain. It was obvious he had a deep grudge against the Nagas. Isn't there enough fish in the lake for them to eat? Why do they want to hunt these elk? This was too difficult. After the black rain, the fish in Blue Water Lake also began to die out. Only the water grass is left. Ah Zay sighed, but he didn't seem to be gloating. The decrease in food was a disaster for the entire secret realm. Don't the Nagas have crossbows? Why don't they use them for hunting? If crossbows could be used to shoot from afar, the elk wouldn't be able to escape no matter how vigilant they were. Those weapons are poisonous. Even if they kill the prey, they won't be able to eat it again, the military advisor interrupted. What's the point of trading if they can't hunt? Yunjioga didn't think the Nagas were stupid. To fight us orcs. The military advisor's thin lips revealed a sarcastic smile. That god emissary doesn't really want to help our beastmen race. He only wants to provoke a war, but these fools still believe in him. Sooner or later, our race will be exterminated. I don't think they want to believe them, but they have no choice. Yunjioga watched as the Naga returned to the water. It bobbed up and down but still couldn't find food. It looked very pitiful. Whatever, ignore them. Let's find the gaga grass and go back, Ah Zay said. Where is the gaga grass? Yunjioga asked. It's near their territory. We have to go there a bit more, Ah Zay said with experience. Ow ow ow. Without waiting for Ah Zay to lead the way, Dummy flapped its wings and flew over. After a while, Yunjioga discovered a large patch of gaga grass planted in a depression. It was black and shiny, and its growth was spectacular. Two Naga warriors were enjoying the cool in a shady place. 4 female Nagas were weeding in the field, and their service was very meticulous. Don't the Naga eat meat? Why would they spend so much effort to grow the gaga grass? Yunjioga had thought that the Naga tribe protected the gaga grass to repel foreign enemies, but now he realized that this was not the case at all. They would eat a little from time to time, but they wouldn't plant them in large amounts like they are doing now. I heard that the oracle asked them to plant them in exchange for weapons, Ah Jun said. Right now, there are only 2 warriors and a few females. We can fly down and pluck a few before leaving, Ah Zay said. Alright, let's take a look first. If the distance was too far, using the spiritual eye would consume a lot of spiritual energy. Yunjioga decided to take a good look at the gaga grass after obtaining it. I'm going down. Then, Ah Zay flapped his wings and flew down. The soldiers who were resting on the side quickly picked up their crossbows and fired at Ah Zay. Their archery skills were very good, and they took turns to lock down Ah Zay's movements. Ah Zay could only fly up and couldn't get close. I'll go cover. Strategist couldn't help but go down. However, it was useless for him to go down. The few females grabbed the rocks beside them and threw them at him. This greatly affected Ah Jun's mobility. Just when Yunjioga was thinking about whether to go down and help, Zishang suddenly said, "There's an ambush. Those 2 chicks are in danger." As soon as he said this, a dozen Nagas suddenly appeared in the empty valley. A row of crossbows was aimed at Ah Zay and Strategist who were flying low. Yunjioga immediately flicked his moon spirit threads on Ah Zay and Strategist and used the elasticity to pull them up. A row of crossbow bolts flashing with a cold light shot out in unison. Ah Zay and Strategist broke out in cold sweat. They were so close to turning into beehives. Miss Yun, these Nagas seem to be prepared. Why don't we leave first and come back when we have enough people? Strategist looked at the increasing number of Nagas below. The row of crossbows was like the scythe of death. No need, you 2 retreat first. I'll go down with Yi Zi. Yunjioga didn't just come to study the gaga grass this time. He also wanted to subdue the Nagas. Miss Yun, don't be impulsive. Strategist quickly shouted. But it was too late. Zishang had already jumped off Dummy's back with Yunjioga. They landed on the ground and blasted a hole. "Fierce, you despicable person. How dare you ambush us? Come and kill me if you dare." Zay didn't dare to fly too low. He could only provoke the leader of the Nagas. The leader of the Nagas was a young man. His long blonde hair was tied up by his neck with a straw rope. He had pale skin and exquisite facial features. His long eyes were slightly slanted. He was gloomy yet gorgeous. Below his waist was a ringed snake tail. He ignored Zay's provocation and ordered the people behind him, "Get rid of this man and take the woman." As soon as he finished speaking, the Nagas all attacked Zishang, who was beside Yunjioga. Dozens of arrows flew towards Zishang. The scales on Zishang's body abruptly grew out, and he reached out with his hand to grab all the arrows. "Don't fight back," Yunjioga quickly stopped him. These Nagas weren't like the 5 poison cult members. They probably didn't have the antidote. She would be the one suffering. Zishang heard Yunjioga's order. The arrows he threw at the Nagas all flew to the rocks on the side and shattered into countless pieces. His slender pupils constricted. He had never thought that this mysterious man would be so powerful. Most importantly, the scales on this man's body were somewhat similar to the Naga race. Could it be that he was also a Naga? No, Nagas couldn't completely transform. He didn't have a snake tail. He might be a different race. The divine messenger had given the order to all those who surrendered. If they could catch the woman flying to Eagle Cliff, they would get large amounts of food. It was already autumn. Winter wasn't far away. It was especially hard to get food this year. There were fewer and fewer fish in Blue Water Lake. They weren't good at hunting on land. If they couldn't get the divine messenger's food reward, this winter would be very difficult. Even if they could hibernate, many people would die. Especially those cubs. None of them would survive. Thinking about this, he immediately threw those messy thoughts to the back of his head and ordered his people, "Continue attacking." Chapter 490. With that, Meng put down his crossbow, grabbed 2 daggers, and pounced towards Zishang. His movement speed was very fast. The daggers in his hands were made of refined iron, and the venom he extracted from his own poisonous fangs was smeared on them. Zishang did not dare to underestimate Meng's attack, and he protected Yunjioga behind him as he fought with Meng. Meng was agile, and his body was unbelievably soft. His movements were fast and accurate, and he had great strength. If it was any other cultivator who had lost their spiritual energy, he would definitely be a terrifying killer. However, Zishang was strong to begin with, and he blocked Meng's attack with every move. He quickly found an opening that Meng revealed, and punched him in the chest, sending him flying. Meng's body crashed into a rock, and he slid down in a sorry state, and blood immediately seeped out of the corner of his mouth. "Chief." The snake men saw that their chief was actually sent flying, and they hurriedly surrounded him. The remaining warriors stood outside in a defensive position, and their snake eyes shot out rays of anger as they stared fiercely at Zishang. Zishang looked at them coldly, but he did not have any intention of attacking. "Everyone, don't be afraid. Actually, this friend of mine is also a snake man." Yunjioga tugged on Zishang's sleeve, and said softly, "Hurry up and show your snake tail." Didn't he like to show his tail in the past? Tisk, Zishang had no choice but to appear in a half-human half-snake form, and he had already stopped being a snake demon for many years. However, since Yunjioga had instructed him, he obediently turned his lower body into a snake tail. The long black snake tail was dazzling, and the power contained within it was even more terrifying. "You're actually a snake man?" Meng's eyes lit up, and he moved his golden and black snake tail, wanting to touch Zishang's tail. Scram! Zishang's face darkened, and he whipped Meng's snake tail away. CSI. Meng was in pain from the whip, but he still revealed a happy expression, and said to Zishang, "Warrior, since you're a snake man, why are you mingling with the eagle race? They're our enemies." Eagles fed on poisonous snakes, and although the eagle race had never eaten the snake men, the food supply in the mystic realm was getting more and more scarce, and in the long run, it was hard to guarantee that the beast men wouldn't eat each other. Meng had always been on guard against this day, which was why he had sought refuge with the oracle early in order to exchange for weapons. "You're wrong. The eagle men are not your enemies. Your enemies are the aura of death and hunger. You should work together to overcome this crisis. You will only make things worse if you keep killing each other," Yun Jioge said as he took the opportunity to step forward. "And who are you?" Meng looked at Yun Jioge suspiciously and warily. "My surname is Yun. I believe your divine emissary has mentioned me to you before. Otherwise, you wouldn't have risked your lives to capture me," Yun Jioge said with a faint smile. "The oracle didn't mention your origin, she only said that if we catch you, we can go to them and exchange you for a large amount of food." Meng was an honest young man, he directly spoke the truth. "Haven't you thought about why this oracle wants to capture me?" Yun Jioge asked patiently. "No." Meng shook his head honestly. The oracle was an honorable person, how could they dare to ask for her opinion? "Then I'll tell you." Yun Jioge cleared his throat and began to bluff again. "The reason your oracle wants to capture me is because we can bring you hope. For example, your most important food." "Really? You have food on you?" Meng's eyes widened. The people behind him also became restless. "Lady Yun, our eagle men pledged loyalty to you first. If you have food, you have to give it to us first," Ah Zhe immediately yelled. "Pfft, you eagle men piss off." Meng spat at Ah Zhe and then said to Yun Jioge passionately, "Lady Yun, you're friends with this Naga warrior. That means you're a friend of our Naga race. As long as you can give us food, we'll do anything you want. Lady Yun, you're the master of our prince. You can't abandon the eagle men." Ah Zhe panicked. "Lady Yun, as long as you can provide food, you can even be my master." Meng was even more desperate than Ah Zhe. "Stop, stop, stop." Yun Jioge quickly stopped the two and said, "Your two tribes will get enough food. I promise." "Lady Yun, can I ask where your food comes from?" Meng was a bit hesitant. Judging from the eagle men's attitude, the food probably wasn't placed at Eagle Cliff. If Lady Yun placed a large amount of food somewhere else, then he would have to send some tribesmen over to help protect it. "Don't worry about that. Let's talk about the gaga grass first." Yun Jioge wasn't stupid enough to take out food from her storage bag in front of them. Although she had a lot of food in her storage bag, it could only help them temporarily. The most important thing was to help them improve their environment and teach them how to support themselves. "Lady Yun, the oracle told us to plant these gaga grass in exchange for weapons. If you like it, feel free to use it," Meng said very generously. He wanted to exchange weapons in order to prevent sneak attacks from the eagle men. Now that they had formed an alliance with the eagle men, the gaga grass wouldn't be of use anymore. "I don't think the gaga grass is for food. It's for research on the..." Before Yun Jioge could finish her explanation, a crunching sound came from behind her. She turned around stiffly and saw Dummy squatting in a corner of the gaga grass, happily eating. There was already a pile of black residue at his feet. Yun Jioge quickly opened her spirit eye to take a look. She realized that the gray gas in Dummy's brain had indeed thickened. "Dummy, get over here." This was the first time Yun Jioge lost her temper at Dummy. "Ayo?" Although Dummy didn't understand, he still obediently rolled in front of Yun Jioge. "Eat, eat, eat. Sooner or later, you will die from eating." Yun Jioga pointed at Dummy's head in disappointment. Ao, Ao, Ao. Dummy was still unconvinced. In front of delicious food, there would be no joy in living if he didn't eat. You dare to talk back after eating. Go over there and stand. Yun Jioga angrily pointed at a large rock at the side. She was prepared to punish Dummy by making him stand. She had to take this opportunity to teach Dummy a lesson. Otherwise, if she allowed him to eat randomly, there would be problems sooner or later. Ao. Dummy didn't want to go. Zishang, bring him over. If he doesn't repent, then don't let him come back. Yun Jioga threw Dummy to Zishang. Zishang carried Dummy's fat body with a look of disdain. After sealing his meridians, he stood in a golden rooster posture as punishment and watched Yun Jioga's situation from the side. After Yun Jioga vented her anger, she turned to Xia Zhe, advisor June, and Meng looking at her with a dumbfounded expression. Only then did she realize that things weren't going well. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.